What's up, guys? We are live. So we have an absolutely epic panel for you today. We got the A team because everyone's name starts with A. Funny coincidence. So we got Avery Hayden. He's a regular on this channel. Austen Summers been on this channel a million times. He's known as the man with the biggest dildo in the world. We got Adam Lyons. He's been on here a few times. He co-hosted the speed dating with me. And we got Alex Lindbergh from UMP, also a really, really good guy. So yeah, this is going to be a dope discussion. Let's do this really quickly. There's going to be some people who don't know whoever each one of you guys are. So do like a 30-second intro about yourself.
Start off with intro. So I am a dating coach is the way to put it. What I do is I'm someone who, this was very hard for me. I was very anxious. I had social anxiety, panic disorder. I didn't even go on a single date until I was 19 and she rejected me. I didn't get laid until late when I was 19, and it took 6 months to even get her. So I'm someone who I had a lot of trouble with picking up girls for a long time. I read all the books. I tried hypnosis. I tried the mystery method. I did it all, failed for many years. And eventually I started getting some success. And then I decided I wanted to help other people do the same.
All right. Mr. Summers.
Hey, I'm just double checking if it's live. I see like comments coming in, but none of them are talking about the thing that
says we're having trouble streaming to your destination.
That's only one of the destinations.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
We're good on YouTube and Twitch. Yeah, fucking Kick is being a bitch. That's all good.
Just copy and paste what Avery said, and that's basically what I do too.
Yeah, nerd who couldn't get laid, eventually got laid, wanted to help other nerds get laid.
Yeah, except I'd say the only difference is my background was more, I had a pretty normal childhood. Middle school, I was actually somewhat popular, but then I had a lot of traumatic experiences happen at once. My mom died, stepdad abandoned me. I had a weird relationship with my dad. He wasn't the most emotionally supportive person. And even my sister at the time was always like, off somewhere. And like, I just felt like very alone. And in America, the suburbs are super isolating, like the way they design the cities. So if you're a kid, you're just like basically there alone, like all the time. So it's like not the best environment. So I said I was depressed for probably like 5 straight years, and then just crawling out of that was really hard in and of itself. And then just got better and better with girls, and now I'm here. Just felt the natural progression, and now I'm with Alex. So dude, I fucking made it.
You made it, bro. Doesn't get better. This is the peak of your life, so just enjoy the moment. All right,
it goes downhill from here.
Yeah.
Oh man, where do I start? At 15, I was voted least likely to ever get a girlfriend in high school. I pretty much stayed single with 2 exceptions, with women that completely cheated on me and treated me like crap, until I was 26, where I got into the game. I started being a coach in London. I ended up being the #1 dating coach, pickup artist, technically, in Europe, at which point I got an invitation to fly out to Hollywood. A documentary crew from the UK followed me, saying there was no way I could truly be able to pick up any girl in the world I wanted. And they challenged me to approach women on the streets. I picked up every single girl 100%. I got challenged by FHM, Maxim magazine, and then a whole bunch of other people, Fox News, you name it, I did it. Became voted the #1 pickup artist in the world 3 years in a row. Developed a dating coach program where I trained a number of dating coaches, people you may have heard of, like Matthew Hussey was a student of mine. Luke Krogh was a student of mine. I trained up about 50% of the RSD instructors, about 50% of the Love Systems guys, and a number of other major dating coaches in the world. From there, I hid the fact that I was in a relationship with 2 women. It got leaked to the media. I ended up on the Steve Harvey Show, the Today Show, and a bunch of other TV shows. They made a cartoon about me in Taiwan with my ability to date and be with multiple women. I separated from one of those women and stayed with the other one. I got 5 children between the 2 women that I was dating. And as far as anyone was concerned, I was in a single relationship, but we were polyamorous until last week when we went on the Michael Sartain show and came out and actually announced that I am dating somebody else. And so there we are. That's my life.
And it all comes in completion because you made it on PWF now. So you've reached your end goal. All right. Anyway, let's go to Lindbergh.
Yeah, fuck yeah, that's awesome. So I'm gonna essentially copy paste parts of Hayden's and Austen's responses to this question. So I'm going to copy paste Hayden's part about kind of being a nerd who like used to like really fucking suck with women, like straight up like really fucking suck. But I'm also gonna copy paste the part from Austen where I was still like a normal guy, but just like, you know, just really fucking sucked with women and sucked with games. So essentially what it came to was like, all right, I'm not gonna only learn this shit, I'm going to absolutely fucking master this shit and take it as far as I possibly can. That was like my mindset from day one. So you know, I started gaming, started going out fucking like 10, 12 hours every single day for like a year and a half to 2 years straight. Started coaching after that. And that's essentially what I've been doing now for the past, well, it's 2023 now. So for the past 5 years, it's been traveling the world year round, just teaching guys to do exactly what I do pretty much. Long story short.
All right, hell yeah. So there's two very interesting questions. When I made a community post asking like, yo guys, what do you guys want us to talk about? There's two questions I thought were interesting. The first one is, how do you go from intermediate to advanced? I thought that was an interesting question. But also I think one that's even more interesting is, how do you maintain a sexual conversation without coming off as creepy? So I think we should start off with that, because that's something I think a lot of guys struggle with. They're either, you know, sexual, but they come off weird, or what more commonly happens is they're not sexual at all. They just kind of fall into the friend zone. So what would you guys say is like, how would you advise guys to just like be sexual, be dominant without coming off as weird or creepy?
So I think this is something that like UMP, I know, seeing their content, they're very big on verbal sexualization. Whereas for me, I'm someone who I rarely do that. Like I don't verbally sexualize that much. Like it comes up, but I don't even worry about that much. For me, you don't need to do that. I just strong eye contact, intensity, getting in close physically, all these things. You can go without having a sexual conversation and she still feels the tension. So you can do that, but I think it's one of those things that's high risk that someone who's new, you want to be careful with. Right. I've seen people like try to copy RC Julian, for example. They try to copy Julian. They try to do the crazy dog shit and they start saying crazy shit. And then they make everyone like it's cringy as fuck. At first, you want to learn how to be sexual without needing to like say she has nice tits or anything like that. You don't need to be verbally sexual. That's like a bonus thing. It's about having the right vibe.
Okay. What do the rest of you guys think?
Well,
yeah,
Alex should respond to that.
I think the subcoms aspect has to come before you learn how you try to do anything verbal. You have to be on point with your body language and being able to actually create sexual tension without necessarily having to use sexual verbal. So I do agree with that part.
I'll take a completely opposite view.
All right, let's go.
So you could argue a lot of these things. A lot of it comes down to like your opinion or your style. But I think for guys, in terms of if they use a statement such as "you're cute" and a girl responds positively, that gives their brain permission that they can be sexual. Because most people, it's not necessarily an issue of they don't know how to, you know, be physical or connect with a girl. It's that they have sexual beliefs that have been instilled in them from their parents, from their society, from their peers, that being sexual is somehow bad. So when you see if you can, you know, compliment a girl and she responds positively, then you're giving yourself permission to become more sexual. It also takes more time for things to, for you to sub-communicate intent through your nonverbals. So I think it takes it takes more time for that. But I think the original question was, how do you show sexual intent without being creepy? And the way I don't necessarily break my system down into beginner, intermediate, advanced. I break it down into desensitization, vibe, sexualization, strategy, and naturalization. So right before sexualization is vibe. If you're having a good vibe with a girl, she's, you know, smiling, she likes the conversation, and then you start being more sexual, she's not going to feel creepy vibes from you. But if you're like, in general, if you're trying to skip 2 steps, the desensitization, the vibe steps, and you go straight to sexualization, then she's going to be like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is weird. It's out of nowhere. Basically, I don't know this guy. I don't feel comfortable with him. He hasn't handled his anxiety. He hasn't handled how to express himself. I don't feel like good emotions coming from him. And now he's being sexual. It's just weird. And then I think the other thing is combining that. Girls cross-reference like how you look. Right. If she looks at you, you're dressed like, you know, a homeless lumberjack, and, you know, you smell weird, and then you're touching her. It's just like, She's like, that's weird. But if you're like really well put together and you have like the social intuition side of things handled, you can get away with a lot more, and girls give you more leeway. I want to stop ranting. I know there's other people.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say that in regards to what you said, I do agree that there's like a comfort line, but it can vary widely. I think it's important to mention based on the girl and situation. I mean, I know some girls like invite them straight to the house. Within like 2 or 3 minutes, I'm like super sexual and there's no issue. I know with some girls, other girls that come over, if I start like getting super sexual in 2 minutes, they're gonna have a panic attack and like leave, right? So it just really can vary. And also I think the context matters. Like, is it like during the daytime or is it like a party environment at night? So I do think that line exists for every girl, but it could almost be a mind fuck because it varies so much based on the girl and situation.
Yeah, so, sorry, don't want to cut you off. Austin, I was wondering, you said the desensitization phase. What exactly do you mean by that? Because I'm not familiar with your system. Do you mean like the guy is essentially becoming desensitized to like anxiety around like displaying these things, or what do you mean?
Yeah, so the desensitization phase is most guys, the biggest roadblock that stops them obviously is the anxiety. Approach anxiety, they don't know what to say. Everything is new to them, so they like freeze up. And I'm sure on immersions or boot camps, you're pulling with students, and then they're like, what do I do now? You know, so it's like the desensitization phase is just getting over your anxiety at every stage of the interaction, basically.
I gotcha.
But especially in the beginning.
So let me explain. To answer the question, the thing that makes you fucking creepy is you're doing one thing versus three things, right? If you just touch somebody and you've got no verbal or mental arousal going on, they're like, why the fuck are you touching me? If you start talking about sex, but there's no cause for it because you're not at that point in the relationship, they're gonna be like, what the fuck is going on? Arousal happens in 3 different ways at the exact same time, which is verbal, mental, and physical. Everything has to match up in sync. If you're just doing one, you're going to give people something called cognitive dissonance, which is where they are freaking out that you're doing a part of something that is a natural process and not the other components. A woman first needs to get turned on in her mind, and the key to doing that is going to be with adding verbal and physical components. Now, most men have no clue how women work. Here's my recommendation. Go out and buy the book, My Secret Garden by Nancy Friday. It's a book where women can anonymously share their sexual fantasies. This involves sitting on a train and fantasizing about the fat, ugly guy sitting opposite her and wondering if he's any good at going down on her. Women's sexual fantasies are wilder than most men will ever imagine because they like the idea that these women are virginal and they're saving themselves for marriage and all this other fucking bullshit that has really only mattered for the last 1,300 years, not the previous 300,000 years of human evolution. Understanding that means you get that they've got to be comfortable, mentally turned on. You got to give them that picture. Like, for example, everyone here, nobody think of a pink elephant. Like, whatever you do, don't think of the color pink. Don't think of how many letters it has. Don't think of the first letter, and you all failed. You all failed because the suggestion of what not to do becomes something to do. Likewise, if I turn around to a woman I'm hanging out with her, I'm like, you know what's really funny? You ever like hang around in a crowd of people and you just wonder, like, those 2 people dancing over there, like, you ever think like that's how they fuck? Like, seriously, the 2 of them dancing like that. Like, that's how their hips move in bed. Isn't that fucking awkward? You ever think like that? Now they're imagining 2 people randomly in the room having sex. You have just kicked their mental state into thinking about sex. Now, it ain't about me right now. It's about some ugly couple, but it doesn't matter because their brain is shifting into that mental state. So that's using my words verbally to talk about other people in the third person to trigger the concept of putting the idea or the inception of the idea of thinking about sex. But we've got to match that with physical escalation. And for that, we can go to Desmond Morris, who was the scientist that identified the 12 steps of physical intimacy. Now, what becomes creepy is when you do later steps before early steps, right? So you've got eye to body, eye to eye, voice to voice, hand to hand. That's holding hands typically. You'll find that if you go for a makeout and you haven't held hands with a girl, it's significantly less likely to ever work. So, and then they go on. I don't want to bore you guys with all it, but this is basically it. The creepiness comes from this cognitive dissonance that you're doing one or the other thing, as opposed to doing it as a package. At least
I don't know if I agree with that. Actually, I was thinking as you were talking, I sometimes do them completely separately and don't have an issue.
The holding hands one?
Like I'll be at a bar and I won't physically escalate at all. It'll just be pure verbal escalation. And sometimes the opposite. Like back in my place, there's no verbal escalation. I'm actually having a boring conversation about like my dog while I'm physically escalating. I don't know if they have to be done at the same time.
So this is a key thing, right? Doing them together stops them being creepy. Can somebody with game do them independently and not make it creepy? Sure. But a beginner, you do them all at once. Then you avoid creepiness. Like, I always think of it like this, right? Like for example, I've been fighting since I was 7 years old. I've got a ton of different martial arts experience. I can do a ton of different things, right? But 9 times out of 10, you're going to revert to doing some basic stuff, right? Basic punching, basic kicking, basic blocking, a basic arm break, right? You're going to do the basics. But that doesn't mean that you might go into a fight and be like, today, sparring this guy, I'm only going to choke him out from behind. No matter what happens, that's the only move I'm going to do. Can it work? Yeah. But is it the optimum? Is it the thing that won't make him creepy? No.
I don't know.
You should give a practical example of what you're talking about, because when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, if I'm holding a girl's hand, I have to be like, I like you. Like, usually what I do is I actually talk when I do something physically to sexualize interaction. I don't even talk about something sexual. I'll just be like, man, isn't like a great like view, and I'll just like grab her hand, and so it kind of like makes it feel less intense. Dude, by the way, I feel like when you were talking, I was like, dude, this guy's like the British Mr. Beast. Dude, I was like, dude, I want to see a train crash into a pit. Like,
so here's the thing.
In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how to sexualize. But first, we got 100 people here that are going to try to fuck this girl first. Let's go.
So, and here's the thing, like what you two are both describing is a form of calibration where you're going to use, like, you're going to escalate physically, but verbally do something else, which again, for a calibrated dating coach, totally. But for a beginner who's worried about being creepy, it's easier if everything builds up slowly over time. And again, we're going from the very beginning, right? So the very beginning, when you first hang out with somebody, we don't want to suddenly just jump into physical touch. But when we get into escalation, it's going to be a lot better if the two things are combined. So, for example, if I was going to hold a girl's hand when I first meet her, right? So we're hanging out, and I'm like, hey, you know what? You have the tiniest little hands. Do you mind if I just compare that for a second? And I'll hold my hand up. And then she'll put her hand up, and I'll grab it. I'm like, they're so fucking cute, though. Like, they're little but cute. This is going to make sure it doesn't come across as creepy because the action matches the words. Where you become creepy as a student is a guy takes somebody into a bar and goes, hey, you know what? Let's go grab a drink together. And then he slips his arm around her and pulls her in close. And she's like, fuck, this guy just grabbed me. He accidentally touched my underboob while inviting me for a drink, and I barely know the guy. Remember, we're not saying, is this a skill you can do without doing the component? We're saying, what makes it creepy? And the thing that makes it creepy is when you create cognitive dissonance by your words and actions not matching. As an expert, they don't need to match.
I would sort of describe it a little differently, I think. I don't know. You guys, the rest of the panel can tell me how you feel. And I do see the point you're trying to make, but I think it comes more from incongruence between your vibe and your actions. So if your vibe is like, yeah, I'm friendly, right? But you're saying something sexually touching her, that's going to be creepy. There's incongruence. But I think it comes much more not between your actions and words, but between your vibe and your action. So that's what I think.
I have the funniest verbal sexualization.
So I'll tell you guys, we specifically dropped using the word vibe in 2009 because we identified that students have no fucking clue what it means. So I hear where you're coming from, but
what do you
vibe
use instead? What do you use instead? Energy or
physicality, words, and what's going on in their mind. These are 3 things that students can understand and grasp. Vibe is a concept. We sort of like, yeah, you meet a girl and then you're vibing. It's like, what do we really mean? What we're really talking about is having good rapport with somebody. But again, where does the good rapport come from? The good rapport comes from calibrated touch and verbalization. So I'm just saying, we just broke it down very specific because students don't understand. They hear the word, it sounds good, and other coaches both talk about vibe, but vibe isn't a real thing.
Well, it's something that's hard to quantify, right? There's a lot of things that are hard to quantify, right. But I don't know if it's like you can take a guy who's just like I'm sure you've encountered students like that. Their vibe is just terrible. They're just like, you just feel miserable talking to them for more than 10 seconds, right? You could give that guy all the right words and actions, but all the girls are going to be like, okay, cool, bro, nice to meet you. So yeah, it's hard to quantify. Like,
I'm going to disagree, dude. We can fix those guys. We fix those guys all day, every day, because we speak in you remember, the average dating student is a logic-based student. That's why they can't naturally do this. Like I'm the same. I was analytical. I guess all you guys were fucking analytical, right? That was the problem with us, is that we're analytical. We needed it broken down specifically. So when we started analyzing this, we realized like what makes good vibe, right? So like I just did a Google for the definition of vibe, right? And it says the mood of a person, the way they make you feel. Well, how do we make others feel? Through interactions. What do we do in those interactions? It's what we say and what we do. So again, we break it down to words and touch. And then the other component, which I think is very important, we literally teach something called the MVP formula, mental, verbal, physical, is you have to think, what is the other person thinking? And we drill our students. What are they thinking right now? What are they thinking? And when you can analyze what the other person's thinking, you get better at it, you develop the skill of empathy. When you develop the skill of empathy, you then calibrate the things you say and the way that you touch people, the way you physically interact. And now you have a much better way to communicate because you're going to match this component.
Yeah, so I'll jump in. I use the word vibe because I just think it's the best. It's the most common one people use. But again, I'm not just saying, hey, bro, go vibe, because I obviously dealt with this too. I come from a family of engineers. Like my grandpa built his car himself with his hands, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the way I break it down is I go into mindsets for that. I go into what is giving value, self-amusement, facial expressions, and emoting, how to talk forever, the verbal structure. So like you said, words, general love of women, because if anything, these, like the red pill space is just put this like intense projection of negativity about women.
They got a bit of an issue with that one.
Yeah. Being at the cause, storytelling, like group dynamics, rapport, which you talked about, social momentum, emotional exercise. And each one of these is its own video that has like deep, what's it called, missions in each, so they can practice things. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. Don't just say like, hey, it's a word, but saying like a word is bad in and of itself, I don't think is a good thing.
Well,
and you break down anything and say like, oh, I don't like that word, but if people use the word, it's useful. So.
Well, I like what you did with it, but I would never say to somebody, fix your vibe, because essentially like you just showed, it's like 20 something points.
Yeah. You wouldn't say that.
Yeah. So for me, but when the verbal and when the physical and verbal match, you will be calibrated. Because as long as you're moving up slowly, remember, we've got the 12 steps of physical intimacy. Remember, I didn't identify this. That is psychologists in real studies identifying successful relationships go through these 12 steps of physical intimacy, right? That's not something I invented. That's a real scientific study where they've identified this. As long as you're physically moving through those steps and the words you're saying match the intimacy level of where you're at, you will not be creepy. Guaranteed.
I think emotion is that's half of it, but I also think emotion too. Because what I get a lot of clients who will verbally sexualize, right? They'll verbally sexualize, but emotionally, they're trying to do the thing, right? They're like, I need to sexualize verbally and then she will like me, then it'll be sexual. But they don't feel the emotion that goes along with it, even if they're being physical. So I agree, physical is a big part of it, but it's also, are they in the right emotional state?
Well, I agree.
This is a good study on creepiness.
Yeah, if you're,
it's kind of interesting the main things they talked about. Greasy hair. One of the biggest ones here, it was like looked at the girl before walking up. So like I think back in the old school too,
hesitated.
With Adam's day is like the 3-second rule, right? It's just like go before you feel the hesitation. And
actually, I love that example, by the way. But that example is perfect and exactly what I'm talking about. Because if you look and don't approach, there is a disconnect, a cognitive dissonance between the two. If you look, you should approach because the physical and verbal need to match. Or essentially, that's to be a justification for the other action. And I agree 100% that mental is part of it, right? We teach that as well. Like you have to have the emotional content. But for us, what we say to them is, because it's hard for them to read the emotions initially. So we drill them on what are they thinking? What are they thinking? So like I'd say my first 2 hours of coaching a guy in field involves they talk to somebody, I bring them out, and then they have to write down what they think the woman was thinking. And I've written down what I think they're thinking. And we compare. And we do this for hours until the person is like, I get it. I know what they're thinking. And then as long as the physical, because I love that in that study because it shows it. It's the same with like the greasy hair, right? Because greasy hair, like what is inherently wrong with greasy hair? The thing that's inherently wrong about it is it's unattractive. Why is it unattractive? Because a woman doesn't like having greasy hair herself. When a guy has greasy hair, it means there are no women around him to critique his hair and tell him that greasy hair is bad, which means no pre-selection. And you'll find almost.
I would just, this is the last thing I'll say on this. I still think that you can get into a situation where someone has his verbals complete line up with his actions, and he still comes off creepy because internally he's not in that state. So internally he feels very like scared or nervous about escalating, but he can fake it and have his words line up with his actions, and he's still. So I think it has to be congruence between internal and external.
That would be the mental. I agree. That's the mental component.
I mean, a big part of coaching is getting the client into the right state, right? Getting them.
Alex, you want to fire back?
Fuck you. Well, let's hear from Lindbergh. He hasn't said anything in like 20 minutes.
Yeah. So just to have like a clear definition, when we say sexualizing, are we talking about telling a girl, hey, I like you, or like, hey, I'm gonna take you home and fuck you? Like, which level of are we talking about here?
Yeah. So what I'm talking about specifically is there are the 12 steps of physical intimacy. Your verbalizing needs just to match each phase. So at the very beginning, right, the very first step is eye to body. That's where you're looking at the other human. So exactly what we spoke about, your physicality is going to be to go and approach. Your verbalization is going to be an approach-based sentence. You know, hey, I just.
Can you tell us all 12? I'm interested to see how you break that down.
Again, it's not me, right? You can just Google the 12 stages of physical intimacy by Desmond Morris. Okay. He's a scientist. This is like well-known and documented. So, and I want to be clear, I didn't invent this. This is, and if you guys know my method is real psychological studies, because that's my background. That's my master's degree, that side. Like, this is what I do. I analyze real studies. Nothing's made up. Everything's real, and it actually works. Most of my content comes from studies from the 80s, which is when psychology.
Well, it was less cucked back then.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure you know it's gotten worse.
Adam, we get it. You invented this stuff. It's all good now. Let's keep going.
Yeah, God, I definitely didn't. But that's what I like about it, because it's real, right? So it's eye to body. You look at them first. Eye to eye, you lock eye contact. Typically, by the way, and this is where we'll teach that's where you're going to do a forced indicator of interest, if we're using old school words. That's where you're going to smile to trigger a smile in the other person. That's going to let you know you have compliance and you're going to have a positive interaction just from that before you go any further. And this is just physical. There's no verbal here, no emotional or mental. After that, you got voice to voice. That's when you're going to talk for the first time. Then you're going to get hand to hand. Now, the hand to hand phase, we break down in phases. Old school pickup would have you do a high five first. Nowadays, a handshake or whatever you want. In fact, we find an elbow touch works nowadays post-COVID, but that's a separate thing. And then you're going to stay in the hand-to-hand phase for a while until you actually hold hands or clasp hands. We teach people to go for the clasp because once you get this, the makeout's almost guaranteed. Like, it's like a 99% makeout rate if you'll hold hands with somebody like this person. After hand-to-hand, you get arm to shoulder. That's where the arm goes around the shoulder. Now, again, a lot of high-level PUAs will go straight for that. Can they make it work? Abso-fucking-lutely. But am I going to, get some new student and say, dude, just walk up there and do that? No, because that's when they get uncalibrated and that's when you get creepiness. So at this phase, after holding hands, arm to shoulder is a piece of cake. Then it's arm to waist or back. That's where you dip down. Now you've got like that more romantic vibe. Then you've got face to face. That's going to be an intimate conversation, looking to each other, and you're going to go for that first kiss.
Then hand to head.
Hand to head. That's right. That's where you punch. No joke. That's where you place your hand on the back of their head, typically, right on the side of the face during the makeout. Then you get hand to body. That's when you're going to start touching them. Mouth to body.
Mouth to breast.
You got it. And then you've got
hand to genitals. Genitals
to genitals. That's it. And that's where you confirm that they are the sex you want.
Genitals to butthole.
You got it.
Yeah, I would.
But what do you do after your genitals are genitals to genitals?
That's when the real game begins. It's called a relationship.
But where's the hole? Like,
Austin, don't worry. I'll send you some.
I'm not going to explain it to you, Austin. You got it.
I would say though, one of the hardest clients, depending on someone they agree or disagree with that, one of the hardest clients are the ones who have a lot of sexual shame, like very religious people or Indians or whatever. I can get them saying all the same shit as me, doing all the same shit as me, but it doesn't work nearly as well because the girl can feel the incongruence. So I still feel like the inner incongruence needs to be fixed for someone to sexualize adequately without coming off as creepy.
I don't know. Like, again, same as you. Like, I've trained a whole bunch. I got this one guy. He was Indian guy. He was like an immigrant. Like, he had acne. He was a skinny dude. Everyone said he's never going to get fucking laid. He signed up with us. It took us like 2 years to sign him up because he'd signed up with somebody else and they couldn't help him. And like, he was getting laid every single night within a couple of weeks. It didn't take long. But the component wasn't being incongruent or anything like that. All that happened was we put more emphasis on making friends and hanging out with women versus getting laid. So he did this so often bring people back to his house to hang out, bring people back to his house to hang out, basically going everything up to, hand to hand, arm to arm, shoulder to shoulder, arm to waist, just no makeouts. After he did that a few nights in a row, he's like, oh, I made out with somebody last night. Great. Of course you did.
So I've had a lot of, I've had plenty of Indian clients crush it. I mean, there's definitely a lot of them crush it. But to be fair, like I had actually an Indian virgin last night, lost his virginity. I'm pretty happy about that one.
Nice, congrats.
But despite that, it is true that they tend to be more on the logical side. And with sexualization, a lot of them see it as this like, okay, I verbally say the thing and then it's going to start happening rather than having the emotion and the whole process like you're describing physically as well, right? They tend to see it as more logical as opposed to feeling it, right? And that's what you kind of have to coach them on.
You got it. And that's why I think it's so important. There's the mental component of what are they thinking? You said this, what are they thinking? You said this, what are they thinking? And we spent I would say the first third of our training is that. Yeah. Well, we start with thinking because feeling's hard. And I understand where you're coming from. I think we're saying the same thing. But feeling's hard because I don't know what they're feeling. I don't know what they're feeling. I'm not them. And, so they can get hyper caught up in it. When you go thinking, it gets them start verbalizing the other person's inner dialogue. And if they can verbalize what the other person's thinking, because they can do it by well, what would you think in their situation? And then they can start writing that down. And it's once they start writing the inner dialogue, that's when feeling comes, right? Because then they can be like, okay, if they're thinking that, what are they feeling? And I mean, dude, and this is the problem. Because I've been doing this for so long, we've just got it down. We break it down to every single fucking component. Even a makeout, we don't just say go for the kiss, right? We break down we've got 4 or 5 different makeouts. But one of them, for example, is at the high point of making her laugh, kiss her forehead right here, exactly here, and be like, ha, ha, you're fucking awesome. If she doesn't recoil bad from that, be like, no, seriously, you are. Pull her in gently and kiss on her cheek. And then we teach them, pull out, feel the body language. Is she trying to get away from it? If she is, leave it. If she isn't.
With how many newtons of force are you applying the kiss to the temple?
Oh, dude, we make them drill this. I'm not kidding. That's no joke. We don't go for newtons of force, but we absolutely get them to do a test. And we get them to hold an elbow and do the test for compliance and pressure.
So this is cool. This is like psychologist backed, what's it called? Escalation ladder.
Let's give Lindbergh a chance to talk because we haven't really heard much from him.
Yeah, sure. So I feel like everything that happens before the sexualization has to be in place. I feel like it's very important that you have enough attraction for her to even be receptive to sexualization. So what I'm going to teach a student is first to actually create that attraction to where the girl is going to be receptive to it. So then when it comes to not coming across as creepy, well, obviously that is going to be a very crucial part. But then also, I like one thing that Adam said. I probably like more than one thing. One thing that stuck with me was the idea of escalation ladders. So essentially, but also what Austen said about the desensitization, because a lot of guys, they're very nervous, they're very hesitant. Their minds are going to be all over the fucking place, at least initially, right? So I do like to give them something that is sort of scripted. Now, it doesn't have to be word for word, but it could be hey, here's the gist of what you should say, and here's what the gist of what you should follow up with. And there's always going to be predictable responses to everything that you could potentially say. It's going to be probably 2 or 3 probable responses to anything you could say. So then he can go in with that in mind, so he doesn't need to he's not going to panic fuck, I don't know what to say at this point. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I like to give him that plan first. And then also, he has attraction first before he goes in. But I do like the idea of the conversational compliance. I like to call them compliance ladders, right? So every routine or whatever I'm going to give the student is always going to be based around the idea of a compliance ladder. Now, this could be physical, this could be verbal. That's how I like to go about it. But definitely starting off with teaching them how to actually build attraction. And with that, I think also comes, because you're teaching them subcoms, you're teaching them body language. So a big part of what you're going to teach them is how to create sexual tension without necessarily having to say anything. I think that is actually super important because I think if we put it in very simple terms, if you're able to get a girl wet before you actually start verbally sexualizing, how much more likely do you think it is that she's going to be receptive to whatever the fuck you say after that?
And if you verbally sexualize and she's not wet at all, how well is that going to go?
Exactly. I mean, that would suck. Hopefully, the verbal sexualization would accomplish that. Which, to be fair, like if you do have attraction and you do the verbal sexualization, if you pull it off well, then that should be the end result. Like she gets a bit more wet.
Yo, can we change the subject? I wanna ask Adam
like
something.
Fucking, one of those like humidity tests, like puts in her vagina. Yeah. He's like, all right,
that would actually be good. That would actually be really good.
That would be an interesting experiment.
I believe in that.
They actually have that. It's called a Adam probably knows. It's called a vaginal. What the fuck is it called? Spectrometer? I don't know. It's some like weird thing that they measure.
Well,
they did a test because it's from the study where they found out that women don't know what they're attracted to because women will say they're not attracted to something, but their vagina is like getting really turned on.
When women say they're straight, they also get aroused by lesbians, right? Lesbian like porn, and by like monkeys having sex as well. Whereas men, if they say they're straight, they are completely like they do not get a boner for gay guys, right? So their female sexuality
the monkey
is more
is a little
fluid.
different. I mean, there's something about two monkeys having sex that just really,
really gets you going.
The monkeys, yeah.
I'm reading about it. It says they just use the Schirmer test strips, like basic paper strips, to test. That's pretty interesting.
I want to add a few more things to this. Okay, so I think here's like my perspective. It's not really too different than what you guys have been saying. I think creepiness comes from two things: incongruence between your vibe and your actions. Like if the girl, like again, if you're like kind of coming off as the friend, but you're saying sexual things or doing sexual things, that's an incongruence the girl can pick up on. And I think the second thing is a lack of smooth progression. If you're going from like 0 to 100, even if you're very congruent with it, like Hormaxer is a good example. I think Avery will agree because he did a video on him. But Hormaxer is someone who's very congruent, right? He knows he's a pervert. He loves the fact that he's a pervert, but there's no smooth progression. He just goes from like, hey, what's up to you want to get a swinger club with me, right? So I think like, yeah, if those two conditions are met, you're being very smooth and progressive and you're congruent, then the chance of you being called creepy is very, very small.
Vaginal plethysmograph is the thing. I used my autism.
Yo, Avery, did you catch what I was just saying?
Yeah. I love Hormaxer, but 100% you're correct.
You agree with my point, right? Like he's very congruent. He's
extremely congruent.
Yeah. Also, I think another thing I will add is I think you can leverage humor when sexualizing, and you can be way more sexual, way faster at balancing out with humor. You don't have to balance it out with humor. I just think you can do more faster if you counterbalance with humor. That's like
fornication's a great example.
Yeah. That's like a
dude. Watch my sex show interviews from the On a Signals channel, bro. It's like the extreme example of that. Can I ask Adam a question? Or I don't know what the format is today, but
yeah, as long
I
as
just want to ask Adam have you seen the dating industry change just like briefly over the past, since you've been in it, because you've seen everything.
Dude, you will love this because it's going full circle. So here's what happens. There's a cycle, and the cycle goes structured game, looks don't matter, money doesn't matter, status doesn't matter. If you can turn her on, you can fuck her. And then suddenly out of nowhere, everyone's like, that's creepy and weird. No one should do that. And then they're like, the only way to do it is with money, good looks, status. What you say doesn't matter. Anyone who tries to do that is beta. At which point, the guys are ignored, and then it comes back to that. We are hitting that moment right now.
Right, you'd say that with the red pill and the black pill, right?
Yeah, the alpha. I mean, and if you guys want the origin of the red pill, by the way, it started in the pickup space, and so I can give you that history. I spoke about it the other day, but basically, because what happens is the high status guys, they have to beat each other, and because who's higher? Well, I'm higher than you. I'm higher than you, and it gets ridiculous until you get people basically faking how important they are, how cool they are.
I'm the toppest of top G's, dude.
Right, exactly, right? Like the best of the best of the best, like naming yourself, right? Like top, right? And then what happens? Well, then what happens is you get the people that just know how to turn women on, and then it just bypasses all of that because women are totally down to just casually fuck somebody. And that goes against these high status guys. Like, I've got everything. No one will ever leave me. You know, the number one person that a woman will leave you for if you're high status, successful, wealthy, good looking, it'll be like some
Her manager at the restaurant.
Yeah, it'll be some nerdy, awkward guy who's really nice and like says nice things and buys her flowers. And the guy's like, you should be making me a sandwich. Why the fuck do I got to buy you flowers? Like, I'm the fucking king. And then this guy bought her some flowers, took her to dinner, told her that, you know, wrote some poetry for on ChatGPT. And she's like, but this guy gets me, right? Because
I like the with ChatGPT.
Right?
I'm not going to say I haven't done that.
Right, and so this is the point. That's the cycle. So we're moving into that cycle right now. Believe it or not, that's why you're seeing me make a resurgence in dating, because that's my game. Like, that's what I'm the best at. So I'm like, heck yeah, I'm going to come out and start teaching again just before that cycle kicks, because I know that right now, those guys that are all alpha status, ripped money type guys, like, they got no hope at all, because you're just going to be like, all right, why are you and not that guy? What differentiates the two of you? You got two good-looking, ripped social guys that run the same social circle. How's she going to pick between you? Which one of you gets her?
Yeah, it is pretty funny how they think like girls should just like have no self-control and they just generally gravitate to the higher value guy. It's like, babe, I don't want to cheat on you, but there's a Elon Musk in the room. I can't. Like, it's just like the girls have like no control. Can you actually quickly explain your thoughts on how the black pill was born, Adam? I think a lot of people need
So yeah, not black pill, red pill. Black pill is just a version of it. But so here's what happened. Back in the day, there was a podcast called The Barry Kirky Show. I don't even know if you can still find it online. Barry Kirky was a PUA, and he came out of the same group of PUAs that I came out of. So different areas from America, but the concept was he was going to make fun of pickup artists. And he started getting a following that hated PUAs, which didn't really matter because he was a comedian. So in a world of PUAs, he was a comedian. We had the Barry Kirky Show. We had the Art of Charm Show. They were the two shows, like with Jordan Harbinger, who's doing very well for himself, by the way. He's a very good friend of mine. He's crushing it. So anyway, the Barry Kirky Show, he would try and catch PUAs unawares and then randomly interview them. So he caught me at a convention. It was the funniest fucking thing. Because, like, I've got a podcast about dating. Can I talk to you? And you're like, yeah. And you get to me, like, you're on the Barry Kirky Show, motherfucker. And then, like, he attacks you and makes you look really dumb, which I find that stuff really funny because I have a wicked sense of humor. So I was laughing through the whole show. Anyway, at the end of it,
to make you look dumb.
He'd do stuff like, you know, is it true that when you have anal sex, you like 4 fingers up your ass? Yes or no? Right? And you're like, I don't like that at all. Right? And then he's like, what is it you didn't like about when somebody put 4 fingers up your ass? Right. And you're like, wait, that's not what I said. So he does a lot of these like weird questions that try and catch you out to look stupid. Right. But it was funny. That was the whole point. Right. Yeah. Because it's really clever. So and you're caught unawares. You're not prepared for it. So you're not mentally ready to be asked these weird leading questions. Right. Well, one day Barry Kirky is struggling to make money. Right. Absolutely struggling to make money. And so by the way, I just saw that comment and I'll address that as well. Somebody said the red pill came out before PUA hate. I don't doubt that, but it didn't beat the PUA movement, which is going to be very, very key to this this component here. And you know, the origin, I heard about the red pill Reddit after PUA hate, so it's very possible, by the way, I'm wrong. And the PUA hate didn't invent the red pill movement, but the red pill movement absolutely came out of the PUA industry because the Matrix movies were really big, right, from 99 to the early 2000s, and it was the PUAs that were talking about red pill, blue pill. And I know
RSD used that metaphor like in 2013.
Right, exactly. And then
Andrew Tate co-opted it, but yeah.
Well, we were talking about it in 2006 because we used to say when you're good at game, you see the Matrix, you've taken the red pill. And this is like 2006, right? So like well before, and I'm assuming that predates the Reddit red pill, is PUAs were saying this on like the LSS.com, which was the London Seduction Society forum. So I'm open to the fact I'm potentially wrong on that component, but it definitely came from the pickup community.
Like I think this entire thing with the pills is kind of ridiculous, right? Why don't we just try to be the best we can in every single area?
Well, I fucking agree with you. But the history
that's because that like makes too much sense.
To be fair, a lot of PUAs kind of damage that too, right? They said looks don't matter, right? Even that's one of my criticisms of RSD. They said looks don't matter at all. That doesn't. It's good for marketing to make it simple. It's us versus them, but it's actually everything, right?
The real reason is nuance doesn't sell and it doesn't build an audience. You cannot build an audience saying, "Hey guys, just be generally great." You know, you have to like take an angle because human brain can't handle complex ideas. Human brains will gravitate toward a simple answer. Bro, get the most high status you can become, bitches are flocking. Get money, bitches a little calmer. I don't know.
I mean, you can
the opposite.
You can do it. I built an audience by being nuanced. It just takes longer. It's slower.
Well, and there's components.
But you would have 10 million if you didn't
and
do
you
that,
could
right?
exactly.
You're never
You
going to
could
get to
have 3
100
million
million
subscribers,
right? Yeah,
Well,
you're never going to be that A-list.
Yeah, but
We'll
this is
see.
the
We'll
interesting
see how
thing,
it
because I see all these guys who are talking about the pills. All I see of them is there's everything I've seen is like they're sitting at home fucking doing nothing. I never see them out killing it or hearing about them being out killing it. It's very interesting.
Yeah, well, because most of them are not killing it. That's the thing. Yeah.
Well, I do want to address this. I just Googled. It says the Red Pill Reddit started in 2012, and it looks like PUA hate was 2005. So I do just want to go back to that person and be like, hey, man, just so you know, you may not be accurate on that. But either way, that's because I'm analytical like you guys. I'm like, am I wrong on this? Anyway, the point is, the Barry Kirky show got shut down and his followers didn't have anywhere to go. They ended up going to PUA Hate, which I think was a 4chan thing, and they ended up starting a website. The website was just anti-PUAs. It eventually got shut down by Jezebel. A bunch of feminists went after them and a few lawyers. And then they all moved.
Probably deservedly in their case. I'm not 100% sure, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I definitely got death threats.
I posted on the Red Pill a lot.
Yeah, I definitely got death threats. Well, I got death threats from PUA Hate, not from the Red Pill. But anyway, so the point is, the Red Pill movement was a branch of PUA. But PUA, exactly like Alec, or you guys were just talking about, you know, PUA always had sub-factions within it, right? It started off, like, I remember, like, there was a guy that was like, I only do day game. And then there was a guy that's like, I only do direct day game. And then there was a guy that's like, I only
Sasha
do
day game.
Right, I only do. Well, he was.
I love that guy.
Well. That was one of my students from back in the day, right? So there was another guy that was like, I only do direct day game at night. But like, I actually remember the first time Sasha came to one of my events.
I only do morning game.
Yeah, so Sasha came. I used to bring like 50 to 500 women out at night with me. That was my game was Entourage game back in the day, right? So kind of what Sartain's doing nowadays.
Like Michael Sartain, yeah.
Yeah, well, so he learned it, or maybe not learned it directly from Luke, but was doing it with Luke, who was a student of mine that I taught how to do it, right? So that was my method. My method was like, I'm not going to put effort. I'm going to friend a whole bunch of women and bang the hottest ones. So anyway, so Sasha came out one time because he wanted to get better at game, and he came to my night, and he had all these women all over him, and he goes, you know what, dude? I came here to learn game. I don't think I need it. I'm loved. Every woman here thinks I'm amazing, and I was like, dude, that's because they're my social circle. They think every guy that comes here is amazing. And he's like, I think my game's killing it. I was like, anyone game kills it tonight. Anyone. I just want
you pinned that comment. I don't think Mode 1 has anything to do with Red Pill really at all.
Yeah, I've never heard of Mode 1.
That's just Mode 1. Basically, what it is you're just extremely direct, extremely sexual, and like no filter.
So they used to call it the apocalypse method back in the day.
The apocalypse opener, which I've done it on video. I've done it on video, and you would be surprised. So I've done it like 50 times, and it's worked twice. Now I don't recommend or encourage it, but it is a real thing.
I had to ban it from my coaches because for a period of like 2 months they were all doing it, and I was getting complaints. Well, I was getting complaints from the women I was hanging out with, right? Because I was big on that. And so I pulled all my coaches into an emergency meeting. I was like, what the fuck is this apocalypse opener you guys are doing? And they're like, that's the best thing ever. And they're all telling me. I was like, who got laid using it? And none of my coaches got laid using it. I was like, it is now banned. I was like, that is.
I've actually gotten laid from doing apocalypse opener on Tinder multiple times. I wouldn't recommend it.
I have too, but it's not. I mean, you will also make girls uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, like, I would not recommend.
I have a friend who does it all. Who actually has pulled. He's pulled like twice in the last week. He did it on video. It's on YouTube. He pulled with the apocalypse opener twice, but he also got choked out by a guy. So it's not like it's not ideal.
And this is my point with all that stuff. Like for me, I would rather do things that make me happy, that make me smile, that make me enjoy my life, and make the women
and the women too, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
There's no need to be extremely aggressive.
I think that was made by Dream.
By who?
Dream.
I don't know.
No, this is made by Discovery here.
Alex and I are kind of, I don't like this list.
Sorry to the Alexes. I don't speak to anyone not on this chart. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, I don't understand this.
So back in the day, Discovery's name was Dream, I believe. That's why I'm calling him Dream. I'm sorry. It's Discovery. Yeah, you're right. That's who it is. He was a student of mine.
So let's. What's the next topic that you got from your thing, Alex? By the way, dude, Adam, I don't know if you have a podcast, but you're like the most natural podcaster ever, dude.
I actually do. I have one. We started it a week ago. So no, 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
Nice.
3 weeks ago. Yeah, it's
we already had quite the exchange with John Zerka.
That was
Dude,
on
you almost remind me of Tim Dillon, but for dating. You're like the way you speak, you're like very high energy.
Who's Tim Dillon?
Tim Dillon's a comedian, but he has a podcast, and all he does is his podcast, basically podcasts and stand-up shows. But
yeah, really. So I mean, I've run my business podcast for over a year. I mean, I do mergers and acquisitions now. Like dating's like a side thing for me. Like business is like my prime thing. So I appreciate the compliment, man. Thanks. I think it's just like when you do like, you know, they say it takes like, what is it, 10,000 hours to perfect something, right? Which is 5 years.
Yeah, you probably got like 30K.
I got 18 years of experience. So like I've got my mastery, you know, then I've got my master of my master and my master of my master, and I'm in 3 years into the fourth one. And
it's not just like every year you add in like addition. It's literally like exponential in terms of like the depth.
Right. Also, I do think Adam is married, just as an FYI, but you know,
married. I think it might be open.
Dude, whatever, bro. When I'm 20 years in the game, I want people to show respect.
Wait.
Put some respect on my name.
Absolutely married, but you know, I've never stopped. Right? I've literally, like, my girlfriend's sitting next to me right now.
She's you can stop. You can take a break, dude. We're not gonna. Well, that's the thing with the pickup community. They're like, dude, if you take 1 month, if you take 1 month away from game, that you're fucking dead. It's like, dude, just have fun.
Well, and I think this was my fear, right? From getting voted least likely to ever get a girlfriend. I was like, I'm never gonna stop, like, ever. And so
who put that? Is that a voting thing in your high school? Who would put that?
Dude, it was so
that's fucked up.
Here's what happened.
Most likely to die a virgin. What?
Dude,
that's when the black pill started and shit like that.
It was like the final semester. Our teacher wrote on the board, who's most likely to be prime minister? Who's most likely to start a business? Who's most likely to be successful? And then in England, in this one class, we didn't leave to go to a different classroom. The teachers switched. So when the teacher left, as we're waiting for the other teacher to come in, the kids in because I went to a really rough school. I grew up in the hood, right? I grew up in a project. So the kids locked the door and then erased the titles and wrote, who's most likely to be gay? Who's most likely to be a loser?
To be gay, okay, nice.
Right. And then they wrote, who's most likely to never get a girlfriend? And they wrote me. And I responded. I was like, fuck, really? And everyone in the room was like, oh, yeah, you're never
created a monster.
Right. And that was it. But the problem is, and I'll be real, I internalized that. Like, I was like, well, that's it then. You know, like, I suppose that would just be it. And so until I was 26, I didn't even dare to believe I could get good with women.
Yeah, guys, so I want to circle it back because I feel like we're going off on a tangent into a little bit of a bromance.
Dude, this is juicy, though. This is interesting. This is like a guy that's been doing it for 18 years. I don't know.
I know he's awesome. I'll put you guys in touch. You can have a private convo.
I'm saying it's interesting for the audience, dude. They're like, dude, do you still have two girlfriends? You have a wife and then a second wife that's off paper.
I've always had two girlfriends. I already had a wife I got married 2 months ago, so I've always had like a primary girlfriend and then like other girlfriends. Yeah. And then a few months ago, I met somebody and she's kind of fucking awesome. And I normally keep the other relationships quiet, right? I don't normally say anything. But on the Sartain show, basically, there was another guy that was there, John. And John was like, nobody can get laid unless you're successful. Well, when I was first doing game, I was a janitor. And I was like, well, that's not true. He goes, well, you're an anomaly. And then he's like,
all of us have gotten laid when we're broke. I don't understand that critique at all.
Well, and then I met my wife. Actually. Well, I met my wife in an orgy with 3 other women. I picked up 3 women and brought them home. And
as you do.
I married. Right. So
as is tradition.
Like, right. So he's like, yeah, but you'd never marry that one. I was like, well, I did. He's like, well, it'll never last. We've been together 10 years. And then lastly, I was defending my girlfriend, but I hadn't said she was my girlfriend. And so they start going, oh, Adam's white knighting. He'll never fuck that girl. And I start laughing because I fucked her the night before because it's my girlfriend. And so we came out public and was like, listen, you guys need to know this. Like, and that's actually sitting on the sofa next to me. So yeah, it just blew his brain of reality because in his world, somebody defending a woman can't ever get laid. But that's a red pill concept that isn't true.
Dude, can I save my question? I have like 300 questions because I find this so interesting. So maybe we'll save this. I don't know if you care about doing another podcast, but I'd love to interview.
I'm all about it right now. Heck, and you guys, if you guys want to come on my podcast, like I love to. Alex, I want to get you down to Austen, bro. You've helped me out so much. By the way, I'll make this here. Alex, I will fly you to Austin to come on my podcast, dude. Like, so just let me know when.
Oh, damn, son. Well, first class. Dude, do you ever like ask a fly girl out and she's like first class ? I was just like instant block, bro.
Really? That's really funny.
I've actually.
She's like, are you going to buy her
it'd be
first
cool to
house?
hang out with you. Let's do it. And, yeah.
All right,
Anyway.
wait, let me bring it back a little bit, and we can kind of in the end we can kind of go off. We can do a little bit more freestyle. I just want to add one thing before we move on to the next topic. In terms of what Avery said a lot earlier about like the red pill, kind of encouraging hatred towards women and whatnot. It's really interesting because one of the big talking points in the red pill is that women are delusional, right? So what they do on Fresh and Fit and a lot of these podcasts is they're like, rate yourself. And it's always funny when some fat chick is like, I'm a 9, I'm a 10, right? So we did a video where we were doing that. We were asking girls to rate themselves. And we were like, wow, girls are delusional. So let me ask some guys to show that guys are so much more rational. You know what's crazy? Guys were just as delusional as the girls. There was also like fucking fat dudes saying, I'm a 10, bro. So it's just interesting. That's a big talking point is that like, oh, girls are so delusional about their attractiveness. But when we did the experiment, we found guys who are just as delusional as the girls. So
They rated themselves. That's surprising to me, to be honest.
It was surprising to me too.
Rated themselves as 10. Yeah, that's surprising.
The only place I've seen people somewhat accurately rate themselves is in Russia. If you type in like Russians rate themselves 1 to 10, it's because they have like no hope for the future. So they're just like,
I am 3. I am not doing too good. I am
4.
Fight Ukraine. It will not
4.
be. 4, yeah. Okay, so anyway, so the second point is how would you? This is a common question I think people have. How do you go from intermediate to advanced?
Okay.
I mean, I think you should kill that fucking system where you're thinking about beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Because here's the thing, like we used to have this phrase, right? Like judge not lest ye be judged yourself. The minute you think of yourself as an intermediate, you're like putting a fucking block on how good you are.
Or worse, a beginner.
Yeah, I remember the first time I had sex with like a girl that I would have considered like, you know, like best of the best, like a 10. I was so happy the next day. I walked down the street from like my house going to like get breakfast. And I was like, I'm the man. I've done it. I fucking won the game. This is it. And there's this chick coming towards me who's, you know, not that hot. And I was like, hi, morning. And she goes, fuck off, loser. And I was like, oh, but last night I was the best. What happened? And I realized every interaction is every interaction. Every interaction is unique, right? Really, if you want to grade it like that, like make it an internal system where you can set benchmarks for yourself and be like, look, when I get this component, like when I do this, I'll have made it. Like I remember a threesome was a big deal for me because like even when I got good at game, I didn't get a threesome for a while because it was just so confusing. But like I was the block. It wasn't that I didn't know how to do it. I just mentally had a block that stopped me doing it. So I wouldn't even think of it as this leveling up. I would just think about different achievements you want to do. So, you know, like I remember the first time I had sex with a porn star was a big achievement. The first time I had sex, a threesome was a big achievement. The first time I had sex with like 4 women was achievement. And so just create these milestones for yourself as like life things, like bucket list, right? But also put down, go to Australia, swim with sharks, right? Like have life goals, man, like beyond just having sex. And that's how I would do it. I wouldn't even think expert, intermediate. I don't know. What about you guys?
Yeah, so this is like my achievements and game checklist for students. So I just have like it's a fun way they can like check it off, kind of like an Xbox type of thing.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
But yeah.
That's cool.
But not a chance, Alex. Actually, no, I will because you sent me your course. So, yeah, I think I 100% agree with Adam. I think that is bad terminology, say beginner, intermediate, advanced, because it doesn't map to the progress of learning game. That's why I use a different system. But I think the difference between getting from, let's say, the sexualization phase to the naturalization phase is just reps. It's putting in amount of reps where it becomes, it used to be conscious competence is something you can think about and do. And now it's unconscious competence where it's something you don't have to think about and it just works. So that largely comes down to reps and beliefs. I think when people are learning game, they actually do get benefit from repeating mindsets and beliefs. But at a certain level of naturalization where it's a part of who you are rather than something you do, it's good to not even think of the beliefs. You don't even need to say them. You don't need to think about them because there's no denying the fact that you're awesome to that girl. So I think it comes down to reps and internalizing beliefs.
Can you explain? You have like a system. I think it's the 5 or 6 steps of pickup development. Can you quickly go over those?
Yeah. So the first one is desensitization, and that's where you get out of anxiety and you're able to kind of calm your nerves around girls. Second one is vibe, where I know Adam hates the word. I know he's triggered.
No, I like it.
but-
I like it as a category. That's good as a category. As long as you don't ever say to somebody, fix your vibe. That in my head, right?
Yeah, so the vibe is where you're able to express yourself. You learn the verbal structure of game, and you're able to kind of let your personality come out. Sexualization is the third phase, and that's where you're able to touch the girl, make a man to woman. Fourth phase is strategy, and that's where you get really systematic about, how do I lead this girl through my sales funnel of game so that, I'm pulling the girl or I'm setting up a date. And naturalization is where that becomes a part of who you are rather than something that you do. And that's just what I've observed from my perspective. I know everyone has a different way of thinking about it, but I love these discussions because I do think it's like we're all our own kind of armchair psychologists, and we're running experiments on our students, and we can see things happening and we can draw conclusions from it. And then we all kind of form our own models, which are somewhat different, but they all have overlapping norms for the most part. So I think it's super interesting.
Those phases I agree with. They make a lot of sense. What I'm curious about is, so when someone is in the desensitization phase. Yeah. When they're in that phase, like if they have a really good night and they're in state, they might be able to pull. So how do you, you don't want someone to be trapped feeling like I'm only working on desensitization. How do you deal with?
So I just say, hey, these are always minimums. If you have a great interaction, there's nothing that stops you, right? So, for example, one of the things in the desensitization plan is basically a 4 or 9 day plan where they can get over social anxiety. It's like the systematic desensitization psychology, and then
exposure therapy.
Yeah, exactly. And I say these are minimums. You can always do more, right? So. Like a guy that's coming on my immersion, he ended up banging some chick he met at his daughter's friend's birthday party. It was like some kid's birthday party, and he met another mom or something.
You want to bang his daughter?
No, well, that would be a bit much, but
because I'll have clients. I've had clients who literally there's a girl's down to pull with, they're able to pull, but they're thinking oh, I'm working on approach anxiety. Yeah. I got I'm gonna go back and do more coaching. I don't want to sleep with her.
That's crazy.
I'm like, bro, what? So that's always a concern. You don't want to label yourself in a way that limits yourself.
One thing I always show them is the game funnel, and you have fewer and fewer references further down the funnel, so those references matter more. Right. You can approach 5 million girls, but if you have an Insta date and it's one of your first Insta date, it's going to be extremely valuable information for you. It's going to be a learning experience. So it also goes back to that chart. You have your comfort zone, your stretch zone, and your panic zone. You should always be in that stretch zone, so you constantly grow your comfort zone.
Let's hear from Lindbergh. I feel like he hasn't talked.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
wait, Lindbergh, is your last name a type of cheese?
I don't know. Maybe it could be. I mean, I fucking hope so. It would be pretty.
It's about to get Googled.
But first, so I would like to start with my definition of an intermediate. So essentially, but then we also need to know the definition of what I would consider a noob, or we can make it very simple, what I think their biggest bottlenecks are, biggest limiting factors. So that's from what I've seen, everything. It's going to be essentially like lack of structure, lack of being able to create value / attraction, and essentially having shitty subcomp, like poor body language, you're just hesitant, you're not getting much attraction with that. But then if we were to essentially define an intermediate, I would say, so pretty much you're being more calculated than a noob. You still have a lot of fluff to be cut out from your conversations, and there's a lot of room for optimization. You have a structure that you're trying to follow most of the time, but a lot of the time you end up freestyling way too much, or you're either following the structure way too rigid and not being flexible enough. Results are inconsistent, but they do occur. You have little control over your interactions, but you do get lucky sometimes. Most of your dates, you don't actually end up sleeping with for whatever reason. Maybe you didn't have enough value, not enough attraction, some unhandled objection, or whatever it may be.
Didn't try. I mean, that's a very common one.
It could also be that. And also, I feel like when you're an intermediate, it's kind of like when you're starting to get a really good grasp of the fundamentals, which, in my opinion, when we're talking about verbals, at least, we're talking about DHVing, making her qualify, sexualizing, soft closing, those type of things, like reframing, those kind of things. so pretty much like you're able to like get your DHVs out and portray your value and all of that if everything goes according to plan and there's like nothing random coming in and like disturbing you. But if she throws you off track, you struggle to get it back on track. If we're thinking like Jordan Belfort, straight line persuasion, he's always talking about bringing it back to the straight line whenever it like derails. So you're pretty much not very good at doing that. You're not very subtle. You're not very subtle in your verbals, and a lot of the things you're doing, it just comes across like very obvious to the girl, and she see through everything. So it's not.
You should give an example of that, how they make it obvious, too obvious, or too blunt.
Okay. Okay. Let me think. So
one off the top of my head is for seating. You know, when they instead of going like, I have wine, come to my place now, instead of breaking down.
So let's say for example, this is going to be like a pretty weird example. I guess this is just the first one that came to mind. Let's say that you happen to know that this girl is on her period. There are different ways you could handle that. Either you could be like, hey, look, like I have a lot of experience with girls on their periods, and actually like I know what to do, blah 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 blah. So like a little bit more indirect, or you could be like more direct about it, like, hey, I don't mind fucking you on your period. I mean, it's literally like the worst example ever. It's just like the first one that came to mind. I could probably think of a better example. Also, when we're talking about an intermediate, I would say you have a general awareness around social dynamics. So like with like conscious effort, like you're really trying and you're like observing a group, you're looking at them, other side of the room, you're able to sort of read and tell what's going on if you're really putting in effort to doing it. Whereas if you have a lot of experience, you can pretty much just take like a, you know, like a glimpse at a group and like, okay, I know what's happening in here, right? You have a good understanding around frames, and here I think there's overlap too. So with conscious effort, you can interpret frames and subtext. Like if I would give you like a transcript of an interaction, I'll be like, read this, like what's happening, what's being sub-communicated. They could, if they sat down for like a long time, like, okay, I think I know what's going on here. Whereas if you take someone more experienced, like more advanced, then they could be like, oh, like I know exactly what's going on here just by fucking taking a glimpse at it. Sometimes you get girls chasing, but when it happens, it's mostly by luck. It's not because you had a strategy or anything to be able to actually make that happen. And you're not able to recreate this dynamic proactively. Also, I would say you have a general understanding of how to interpret compliance. So let's say if you want to categorize it like this: positive compliance, neutral compliance, negative compliance. You have a general understanding of how to handle each of them. Like when you get a certain response, you know how to react within these categories. You're able to sometimes sexualize your interactions, but it's inconsistent. So, and also, like, let's say you get challenged when you're sexualizing, you might get really thrown off and you don't know how to respond. And also, you could sexualize in an uncalibrated way, which is kind of like what we were talking about before. So, for example, you are overstepping the amount of compliance that you're able to ask for in this very moment. That's pretty much my definition of being uncalibrated. But also being uncalibrated could go the other way as well, is that if you're not moving interaction forward quick enough, when the girl is clearly down and you're being hesitant, the girl's going to be thinking like, fuck, is this guy socially retarded? Can't he see the clues that I'm giving him to fucking escalate? That's also equally uncalibrated. So it goes in both ways. And I really, what I think it comes down to, like, I don't really use these terms like beginner, intermediate, and advanced. But really what I think it comes down to is it's all consistency, and it's all just getting better at the fundamentals until you get to a point where your consistency has improved a lot. I think that's really like the biggest difference.
It's a full book from not having talked for like 20 minutes to a full fucking
I know, fucking
Hemingway out of the blue.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention is the number one of all those things that you mentioned that's the most common I see with students is you talked about the straight line system from Jordan Belfort, is that they have a girl that's receptive and they do nothing with it, right? That's like the number one most common. The girl likes him and they're just, I'm going to talk with her for an hour without touching her, without getting closer, without leading her, without doing anything and not taking it anymore. That's like the majority of people.
And then as soon as they do try something, she'll go, I have a boyfriend, but thanks for entertaining.
Because they waited 2 hours. It's fucking weird. Yeah,
exactly. Like, man, fuck's sake. If you moved it along the straight line, you could have found this out in 45 seconds. You wasted 2 hours.
Yeah.
All right, question for the panel. I noticed that some coaches have higher sex drives than others. How many times a week do you like to have sex?
Oof.
I don't talk about my
depends
personal
on
life.
I
that
have
depends
sex
on
twice a
caloric
day.
intake.
Twice a day, every day, no fail.
So, dude, Adam, are you on TRT? And also, how old are you?
I'm
Curious.
42 years old. I'll be 43 this year. My current testosterone level, which is aided by a local doctor, so I do it all above board, is between 1100 and 1200 fluctuating.
Yeah, you give off the high T vibe for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Dude, he's just the first things Adam said on this, he was like, "What's up, guys? So today in this video, we're gonna." I was like, "Damn, dude."
True story.
Most 43-year-olds are like barely breathing, dude. They got like
real life game demonstration.
I think this is actually worth saying because I had a stroke because my testosterone dropped so low. So I was not the kind of guy that would get on it. And I didn't notice because I was still having sex twice a day because I'm used to having sex twice a day since I first got good at game. So like to me, having sex twice a day is just something I've always done.
All right, give us your supplements. What is it zinc? Are you eating liver? Are you eating kidney? What's going on?
I've got a doctor, like an actual GP. Like I do it through my
Okay,
doctor.
and he does TRT, but your semen needs to regenerate if you're blowing 2 loads a day, unless you're not blowing a load. I don't know. I feel weird talking to a 43-year-old about him blowing his load. But
if you read about the refractory period between 2 women, if you fuck 2 women, your semen replenishes faster.
Like from the vole mice or whatever, right?
It's the Coolidge effect. It's called.
Yeah. Because I've got 2 women. I had sex with both of them, right? So it regenerates much faster.
Yeah, but you still need nutrients. I get that
I
the
eat
arousal.
Food. Yeah, I mean, I eat food, but like I don't take a supplement stack.
I'm just gonna chalk it up to you're one of those guys because I blow like 2 loads and then I'm like, bro, I'm gonna work for 3 days.
I think there's
No
such a
girls,
big variance in this. Like I remember back in 2018 when I was like kind of more getting into like coaching and stuff. I could pull a girl, I could fuck her like 6 to 8 times, anywhere between there. So this is in like a 2.5 hour period or something.
My friend Charisma King, when he has a girlfriend, he'll bang her 6 to 8 times a day. And that's why his channel isn't popping off as much as it could, is because he's too busy banging a girl 8 times a day.
I don't think I could do it with the same. I don't think I could do it with the same girl every day.
I mean, like
I think I would get bored.
I'm the same way.
But that's good for him.
My girlfriend, she just popped out to the restaurant. She's on a mission sometimes, and she's like, "Yo, you're coming 4 times today, like no matter what, like that's gonna happen."
You motherfuckers are crazy. You make me feel like an old man. All right, for me, by the way, my testosterone level is 1500. So mine is high as fuck. And for me, ideal is like 2-3 times a week. Like I'm not coming 5 or 6 times a day. The most is like 2 or 3, and that's like if it's like in a once in a lifetime.
2 or 3 total, including anything outside of sex.
I don't jerk off. Yeah, so I do no.
That's crazy to me. That seems really low.
That's like 2 or 3 times a week is ideal for me. I could probably do like every day if I really want to, but it's not like I don't feel the drive. Like I get horny if I haven't had sex for 3-4 days. Yeah.
Yeah, because one thing I'm trying to understand more is how testosterone plays into libido and other things, because it's not a 1-for-1. It's not just like you have high T and therefore you're super horny. There's but there is a very strong overlap. I don't know what it is.
There's a correlation, but I don't think it's even 75. There's people who have low testosterone who have a pretty high sex drive. He who shall not be named, before he got on TRT, his test levels I know were like 350, and he would fuck like 2 or 3 pounds a day.
Dude, we got to come up with a name as a group of people, like the Dark Lord or like the sociopath or
I have no idea
who cannot.
It's like guys talking about their
more
ex,
than 1 month.
the demon.
Anyway, but the point is that I've seen that. But yeah, there's definitely
pit.
something. But even with me, dude, like when I got on TRT, I didn't feel like my sex drive went up. I felt like my stamina maybe went up, and I feel like my calmness and overall energy and sleep went up. But I don't know. I've never felt one thing that I don't know if David Swift still does this, but he used to be like obsessed with the maca and fucking.
He still does, and it definitely seems to be fucking working.
Yeah, maca definitely.
Like I hear shit.
Yeah. I mean, like he would always like fucking troll me. Well, you didn't take your maca.
Here's what I'll say that I've noticed, and maybe this will be controversial. I just think some guys don't actually like women. And like for me, I fucking love women. Like I love how they smell.
Adam, are you trying to imply that I'm gay?
No. I'm just look, you don't have to be gay to not like women that much. I'm just saying, and I'm not saying like you don't like them at all. I'm just like, I can't imagine a day where I wake up and smell a woman and don't want to be inside it. Like I can't imagine it. Like I'm like 50% here, 50% looking at this beautiful woman over here. And it's not like I haven't seen her a whole bunch of times, but like I can't not think when I'm with a beautiful woman, I just like, yeah, I just want to be with that woman, And I see guys like, look, I'm buddies with like a lot of like old school POAs, right? And I don't want to name and shame, but I'm gonna say a guy without saying his name. He's a famous POA, one of the top 10. You'd all know him if I said his name. One day we're sitting having lunch together, and he says to me, "Do you know my body count?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "What's yours?" And I was like, "Mine's over 1,000," and I stopped counting. And he goes, "Mine's 68." And I'm like, "Oh." And he goes, "And it's not because I couldn't. I say no all the time." He's like, "I'm just not that interested in most women I meet." And he's like, and to be honest with you, I really prefer hanging out with guys talking about women than I do about picking up women. Does that make me fucking weird?
All right, just to clarify, this is not.
Is that Alex Valinchek?
I'm not going to name who it is. It's not Alex. There's no one here, right? But the guy's like big time, like one of the top 10 in the world that we've ever had. And I was like, he was like, "Don't tell anyone." And I was like, "I got you, bro. He's a friend, right?" So I'm not going to name him. And if you guys, I wouldn't guess because I don't think there's anything wrong with what he said. But when he said it to me, from that point on, I started looking at guys teaching game, and like it happened the other day. Like we're hanging out with John on Sartain's podcast, right? And he's like, "Yeah, like sometimes when I'm fucking a bitch, I can't wait for her to go so I can hang out with the guys." I'm like, "That's not me, dude. Like,
that's not me either."
I mean, he's playing a character. I don't think he really means that.
I mean, whether he means it or not, he definitely like a lot of what he says, like the fact that he's not respectful to women tells me that somewhere deep down, he probably prefers hanging out with dudes. And I don't mean gay. And just to be clear, this isn't an insult. I'm just saying prefers the company of dudes. I remember back in the day, like when I was learning game.
There's a famous Sean Connery quote like that. He goes like, "I just prefer the company of men."
Right. And I don't. And like, I remember like this one time we were getting ready to go to a club, right? And so I've got like 20 chicks, and I've got like 5 guys, and we're there, and everyone's like, "What are we going to do while we're waiting?" And the girl's like, "We're going to go get our nails done." And the guys are like, "Well, we're going to go play soccer." And I was like, I'm going to hang out with the girls. And I'm like, "The fuck's wrong with you, bro? We're all going to go, we're going to grab some beers, we're going to play soccer, we'll hit the showers and hit the club."
Adam's like, "Have you seen these nails?"
Dude, no, listen, right? Like even that comment, because they were making that stuff like, "You're fucking gay, you want to hang out with the chicks." And I was like, dude, no offense to any of you. I would rather hang out with 20 chicks, have a great conversation and hang out with them. There's just something about running around with a bunch of dudes and getting in the shower all sweaty that just sounds a bit gay to me. It's just not what I'm about.
Wait, you're talking about sports?
Yeah, like guys in England will go and play soccer before a night out.
Dude, I fucking love sports. I can't. This is where I draw the line, dude. Dude,
so I love
there
sports.
is something there. You are missing out on one of the aspects of being human if you're not coordinating your physical activities with a group of men to achieve an objective.
So here's the thing. I love sports. I sword fight for 6 hours every single week in a group of dudes. We train and we fight.
Whoa. Pause. Yeah. What kind of sword fight are we talking?
I've been a professional fencer since I was 7 years old. I've competed internationally. Right? So I sword fight in armor. I use metal swords. Like I've been training my whole life. I pick up a sword right now and show you. Like I fight with swords. I've done it my whole life. And I've done kickboxing.
So when people are going crazy about MMA, you're just like, bro, one strike with my sword, you're done.
No, dude.
Dude, Conor McGregor's a fucking pussy, dog.
Dude, I always have a knife to hand, right? And so my favorite phrase to say to people is, "How about we just have a knife fight?" And they'll be like, "What the fuck's wrong with you? Let's fight without a knife." And I was like, the funny thing about a knife fight is if I bring a knife to a knife fight, you're in a knife fight whether you want to be in one or not. And the best thing about living in America, especially Texas, is in America, you can legally carry a knife everywhere. Well, in Texas, you can legally carry a knife everywhere you go.
I mean, that's not all you can legally carry, though.
Well, no, I can't. Yeah, of course, I got my concealed carry too, right? But the thing is, like, and you ask any cop, they would rather deal with a guy with a gun than a guy with a knife.
I want to bring up this comment. I mean, it's just extremely wrong.
Yeah.
That comment's extremely wrong. I've pulled girls being extremely sexual in the U.S. I live in the U.S.
Yeah,
It's not
don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
It's not an easy mode country. In the day, sober. Like, I don't know what he means by you being gamey. To be fair,
honestly, I do not either, because I definitely don't see it that way. And I did respond to him in the chat. This guy, he doesn't understand that this game was developed in USA, Australia, and Sweden.
Though easy mode countries, easiest of the easy. This guy doesn't approach. I mean, that's my guess. I would bet money this guy doesn't approach.
But I already spoke to him in the chat, so this is.
I want to really quickly bring him back to the T thing, and we can move on. I do feel like
shit, dude! Look at this sword.
Thundercats? Is that a Thundercat sword?
Yes, it is.
Nice.
I think,
Alex Lindbergh, are you from Sweden originally, or Germany, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, hold on, wait,
So, dude, they have grenade
let me
attacks in Sweden.
Get this point across.
Yes, pull out a fucking grenade, bro.
Yes, and we all know why.
That's how you upgrade. Then Alex brings out a bazooka from Russia.
Be quiet.
I love it.
You let me talk. So yeah, I was just gonna say about the T thing. I think my thing is like totally different. If I'm being serious, I think it largely has to do with Lyme disease. I think that completely fucked up my sex drive. Like I think before I had the Lyme disease, I was like horny like pretty much every day. So even though my T levels are high, I think there's more to sex drive than just testosterone. I think it's a cascade of like hormones and like chemicals and whatnot. And one of them just got fucked because of that. But just to clarify, it's certainly not because I prefer hanging out with a bunch of dudes over girls. Anyway, we can get back to the initial discussion.
I think a big one is how many different women you're around. Right. If you're around a lot of different women, you get very horny.
I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I had met up with a chick like a week ago. She's pretty hot too, and I fucking had like pretty bad ED for the first like hour, and I had to pop some Viagra, and that was good. But initially, I don't know, man.
Honestly, dude, it sounds like Lyme disease to me. Like genuinely, like that shit will mess you up. Like I know people that have got really messed up from it. And but again, like I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think, like I said, given a choice between hanging out with women or hanging out with dudes, I'm going to pick the women every single time. And that is even, and I'm going to say here, even the women that guys like, oh, but you know, they're all emotional and they're upset. Yes, absolutely. Those ones. I will take them. I
think it depends on the guy and the girl. There's some dudes I'll take way over any girl, and there's some girls I'll take over some dudes. Yeah, I don't know.
I think they're completely different things. Like the reason you want to be around women is completely different than the reason you want to be around men, and they both have completely like it's not a similar comparison.
No,
right? There's times when I want to be around men, like for business, accomplishing things, physical activity, things like that. You want to be around men, and then there's times you want to be around women.
Dude, no, personally, right? I still pick women. The majority of my company employees are women. Most of the people that I work with are women. I do Dungeons and Dragons. Half my group are women.
That's probably
that's
rare.
just strategic, dude. When you have female employees, the call show up rates for certain calls just goes through the roof, dude.
Yeah, I just in general. But remember, I'm not just like I don't just have dating, right? I do mergers and acquisitions. Like I prefer women to men in general. I like hanging out with my female company, and truly, I've dissected this with like some of my high level coaches. It's probably why I'm very good at games.
Yeah,
because I don't get
no one completely normal gets like to a high level in their field because they're completely normal. It's like that book Relentless. Like they talked about Michael Jordan and how he was just the most competitive human being alive. Like he does not.
I just genuinely love women. Like everything about them, I just think they're freaking great. And I'm just built that way. Like I prefer female energy to dude energy. Like no offense to you guys, but like I would be.
What's wrong with my energy? Now it's my vibe. Now I got to fix my vibe.
I mean, it's just.
Austin's totally taking the shirt off too.
Nice callback.
Just the wrong sex for me. No, but like genuinely, like having a woman in the room makes this that much better. Like I'm looking across, she keeps like showing me her breasts while I'm hanging out. I'm having the best time because she's laughing about because she's here. But like that's my life all day, every day. You know what I mean? Like, and I love that. That makes my life 1,000 times better.
I guess agree to disagree. For me, like depends. I'm kind of like Avery. Like depends on the moment. Depends on like what I'm trying to do. Sometimes I prefer the company of like my male friends. Sometimes I prefer chicks.
When I want to relax is when I want to be around women. When I want to be doing shit is when I want to be around men.
The biggest example is traveling. That's like the ultimate test. Because when you travel with guys, everything is efficient. Everything is handled. Hey, bro, let's share the responsibility.
God.
XYZ.
No way.
When you travel with women, it's always like, oh, wait, I'm not ready yet. Oh, can we go here? Oh, I don't know. It's like, and dude, also when I travel, I want to experience the local women. So unless, okay, I did have a threesome with my, okay,
we
whatever.
have different experience of traveling. Like I travel, like I got some male business partners. We travel, dude. One of them forgot that his passport had expired, and we were on like cruise ship.
Okay, on average, I think men make better travel companions than women.
I would probably agree with that.
Okay, so check this. Do you say women in general are more or less organized than men? Imagine like organizing your notes for school.
Okay, no, I'd say women, yeah. Also, it depends on the woman. Like I was dating a doctor women I fucking love. They are on their shit and they get stuff handled. But
so again,
dude, most girls, it's like, especially younger girls.
Yeah.
It's just a leaf in the wind energy. And you have to like, dude, you're just wrangling them. You're like, come on, we got to do this. We got to have this.
So to me, you just define the difference.
I don't want to be a dad yet. Okay. I don't have kids and I don't want to be a dad to these girls. Like figure your shit out.
Dude, I literally have 2 women that run my life. Like my girlfriends run my life and I just get to be a kid all day, every day. It's great.
Yeah, but
you are a unique individual, Adam, and I love you for that.
The exact opposite of Andrew Tate.
Yeah, that is true. That would be the exact opposite. I would say this though, like when you're traveling with like a male friend, you can talk about like, yeah, man, we're going to this place, we're going to fuck chicks. Like that's just not something like a girl is going to.
That is definitely something I say to my woman.
The look of depression on men's faces when I lived in Colombia and they traveled to Colombia with their girlfriend and sit at a table and they're just like eating. And then the guy sees like just tens walking by, and he's like,
"Oh yeah."
I don't know how to chef.
Now you have a girlfriend that you can have threesomes with, so it's different.
The last time I went to Colombia, me and my girlfriend picked up 3 women, and she made them all take turns sucking dick.
There you go.
That's a small percentage. You're part of the 1%, Adam. Like most guys are not
the 1% of the 1%. How many? Dude, do you know how many people have threesomes? It's not that many. And especially a girlfriend that's down to pick up girls, it is definitely
this, and this is important. In my high-level mastermind for dating, every one of them has had it. And I think as dating coaches, our job.
Okay, wait. Every one of them has a girlfriend that's picking up girls with them?
Every person in my high-level mastermind has had a threesome. And
30
or 40% have a girlfriend who's picking up women with them, yes. Like my coaches all have women that pick up women with them. Like,
there's a massive sample bias there. If you take the average person on the street, you take 100 people off the street, maybe one of them has a girlfriend.
Well, and this is why we exist, right? To me, that's our job. I believe our job is to be that 1% and show people what you're supposed to do if you want to live that lifestyle. Like, I have no doubt that, like, UMP Alex, like his energy is fucking awesome. Like this guy 100% could pull this off. And I believe the rest of you absolutely could too. Like, dude, fuck it. I love bumping into you in Vegas, by the way. That was hysterical. Just the way you were like, yo, we're going to be on the podcast on Monday, brother. That was just fucking dope. But like, same kind of thing. You were like hanging out on your own by a wall. And I want to be clear here because the average guy that was doing that, you'd be like, this guy's a fucking wallflower. But you weren't. Your energy, everything about you, it was like you were confident, you were smiling, you were connected. There's no question to me that you could go and meet somebody and pick them up and take them home if you wanted to, right? Because you've clearly got game and you know what you're doing. But I believe it's our job to do that. So I agree with you. The average guy on the street can't do it. But the average guy on the street should get off the fucking street, contact one of you motherfuckers, and fix their shit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that.
Or you.
Yeah.
But
dude, I honestly think that's why I do like this new thing where all dating coaches are collaborating, because there's a huge fucking problem in society. And part of it is obviously like, the way the West has been constructed. Part of it's like the internet, the comparison bias on Instagram and all that kind of stuff, and porn and all the effects of that. But it's like, dude, there's a huge problem and we are not even meeting the demand at all to solve this problem. And most of the people are getting sucked into like absolutely inane red pill and black pill discussions that leave them worse off and poorer and fucking not any better with women. In fact, more angry at women. So yeah, I definitely, everyone here, I support.
Yeah. You welcome, Austen. I'm happy to put it together. No, I mean, you like, even on this channel, which is primarily a pickup oriented channel, primarily like results oriented channel, like this live stream, we got like 5 of like some of the best guys, 5 legends answering questions and giving value for free, 125 live viewers, which is not bad, right? But let's say I'm debating some dipshit black pillar who like lives in his mom's basement, 400 live viewers.
Yeah.
Well, we know this about social media, right? Most people, like, think of it this way. This is one of my favorite examples. Imagine the most average intelligent person you know. Most average. Think of that person, name them, like, know who they are. 50% of the people you know are dumber than that person.
Yeah.
Right? That's scary.
Well, actually, in the West, 50% of the people in the world, it actually be a lot lower. The average in the West is like 98 to 100 IQ. Most of the world is like a lot lower than that.
And this is the thing, right? So most people don't want to learn something. They want confirmation that what they know is correct.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that.
And so the reason that the Black Pillars get so many followers, it's like, dude, it was so funny, right? So we're on the podcast with John, and I got a whole bunch of random people trying to hate me afterwards, right? And they were like, "Oh, LOL, you got owned." And I was like, "I went home with 2 women. He went home alone. We're dating coaches. How did I get owned?" And they were like, "Well, you know, he schooled you on the show." And I was like, "He said all his followers are a loser. Do you follow him?" I'm like, well, yeah. I was like, "You know, he thinks you're a loser, right?" And all of them silent. I've got strings of just silence afterwards, because these guys, they think it's funny for someone to like make fun of people and to be rude and be disrespectful, not realizing that he's laughing at them, making fun of those guys. I would never insult my students, ever. I would never insult my followers, because I want to help. And so the reason, like, and Alex, I love that you got 100, because you got 125 people. Like, you guys here that are viewing Alex's show, good for you. You are open-minded enough that things can be different. And as a fucking janitor that grew up in a project that had no fucking hope with women, I am living proof you can turn it around. Like, and everyone here is as well, but I just don't know their story as well. Like, and the guys that are listening to this kind of podcast, you're going to improve. Now, the 400 people that are listening to the idiots that are saying stuff that doesn't fucking work, just because they're like, yeah, that's right, it doesn't work for anyone. Ha ha, we're all losers. Then that's what your life will be.
Well, there's like a set of copes they have. I've debated these people so many times. I know exactly what copes they're going to give. And the cope would be that we're all liars, we're all scammers, none of us, we're all actually secretly virgins, incels. We all actually are losers who, that's like the cope they would give. You're like, well, here's a video of me and a girl. Oh, she was a prostitute. Well, here's a video of us hanging out for like 2 months. Oh, she's a very well-trained prostitute. So, yeah, it's like you can't convince someone who's mind.
Yo, Adam, you should talk about that from a psychological perspective about like how people will preserve their inner monologue and their inner story more so than anything in reality. Their self-image in that.
So cognitive bias, right? Actually, I'll have to Google it because I don't know off the top of my head, but there's like a list of cognitive biases. But basically, you can think of it like this: once you learn something, humans are more inclined to continue to believe that thing.
Confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
exactly. Confirmation bias. Now, the reason for this is survival. If I learned something new and it didn't kill me, therefore it must be good at keeping me alive. Anything new might kill me, so it is riskier than sticking with what I already know. This is the reason for it. This is the survival reason. It's very simple.
There's a really interesting thing that these South American communities would do. They would, like when they would all plant stuff, they'd plant it at the same time. So all their neighbors would plant it when the moon is full or something, because that protects it against insects. But what they didn't realize is it's not that the full moon protects it. It's that if they're all planting at the same time, the insects can't, ravage one particular crop from one of them and then go on to the next. It just spreads out the what's it called? The damage. I don't know if I explained that well. But.
Let's quickly answer this guy's question, because he's been like posting this nonstop since it started. I already gave my answer. I like Gabriel Gray. I've had him on the channel. Maybe you guys can just give a quick 2 cents. Like
now you're going to get more spammers but I think Gabriel Gray is good. I think he's legit as far as I can tell. I don't know him that well, but I've seen a little bit of infield. I've seen his teachings. I think he's good. He's not one of the like total frauds for sure.
I'm going to turn this into an exposed video.
No, he's a dating coach. He's He doesn't have a huge following, but he seems legit to me.
Oh no, Gabriel Gray, Heroes. He was in. It's the actor. It's not the actor. It's the.
No.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, it's the actor.
So I don't know much about his content, but I do know once I saw a Facebook group that I was added to, and it was Gabriel Gray's surgical technical pickup. And I thought it was like a self-referential joke about being like super technical or something. Like, why do you need surgical technical? But
that was their
I don't
company, Surgical Pickup.
It's to appeal to nerds. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah.
It's appeal to surgeons. That's the main target demographic.
Yeah.
Well, that's high ticket.
Surgeons.
All right.
That's very high ticket.
I feel like our answer was so disappointing to him. He spammed
Yeah,
it like
I don't
100
know.
times, and that's what he got.
Yeah. I mean, he's got some fucking obsessions.
Dude, let's put up some Gabriel Gray infield. We'll break it down.
I mean, if you can find it,
actually in our mastermind group, we already did that. Like 2 months ago or something. I don't remember.
Was what you had to say overall positive, or?
I don't remember, so I don't want to say. But
okay, all right.
I don't think so.
Dude, let's invite Gabriel Gray right now onto the podcast.
Yeah, he's in the same city as me right now. I saw him in the mall.
Limber, go to his house right now and just fucking show up with a laptop. And be like, dude, you gotta get in on this.
Yeah, man, I get on the fucking stream.
What city are you in?
I'm in Warsaw, and it's actually 4 a.m. here right now.
One of the favorite
the sun
PUA
is
cities.
coming up soon because we're in Europe.
Nice.
Let me pose this question to the panel. I think it's an interesting question. What were the biggest turning points for you when it comes to game?
The biggest turning point for me, I know for a fact, was I was like going to parties every night, organizing things, and there was a girl that I was like blown away by how hot she was. She was in Tower Records, right? The music store is how old I am. And my buddy's like, you should go and pick her up. And I was like, I don't think I can. I don't think my game's that good. And he's like, you got to go for it. You got to go for it. And so I went to pick her up, got a phone number, and she worked in a bar. And I arranged to meet her for coffee the next day. Went to the nightclub, did my thing, go home. And then every day I would walk by her bar, hang out with her for 2 hours, and then go to the nightclub. And every time I'd be like, we should go to dinner next week. And she'd be like, yeah, just tell me when. And I did this for 6 months and never took her for dinner, ever. On the final day of like 6 months, I'm like, hey, good to see you. And she's like, I'm leaving back to Paris. And I was like, oh, that sucks. How long are you here for? She's like, 1 more week. I was like, well, let's go to dinner before we go. And she goes, no, fuck you. I've blocked you on everything on social media. I've been waiting for you to come in. Fuck you, never. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, I've been waiting for 6 months for you to take me to dinner, you asshole. She goes, I really like you. And you never, ever fucking deliver what you say you're going to do. I've been waiting. And so, no, I'm done. I'm leaving this shitty country. I'm going back to Paris. I'm done with you. I'm done with everything. She broke my heart. Like, I was like, what the hell did I do? Because everything was perfect except never took her to dinner, never made out with her, never had sex with her. And it was the first time that I'd hurt a woman by not doing something, by not escalating. And I decided from that point on, okay, I'm only going to go for women I'm actually going to do something with. And if I go for it, I'm going to go for it and I'm going to put in the effort and I'm going to go all the way. None of this like, and so I stopped doing fake approaches. I stopped picking up chicks just to pick them up and get their phone number. So that's why, you know, me and Alex spoke about this before. Like, that's how I know my hit rate is, you know, basically 100%, because I don't go for it unless I know I want it. And if I know I want it, I go for it 100%, and I push 100%, and I get it. And I do whatever it's going to take to win. And that was a big turning point for me, because I couldn't even imagine that a woman that beautiful could get upset that I didn't take her to dinner. You know, I just figured we were friends.
You gotta fuck them, man.
Gotta do it.
Okay, who's next? I mean, I can say mine. Go ahead.
I'd say the one that stands out to me is it's almost kind of the opposite in some ways, because I'm sure we all have those stories of a girl that clearly was into us and we didn't make a move. We bitched out and we're like, fuck, I'm never going to do that again. Right. I definitely have those stories. Some of them are very embarrassing and awkward. The one that stands out other than those kind of stories is when I first reached the indifference threshold, which is that's where you're going out, talking to people, socializing, and you finally reach a point where you literally don't care about rejection, right? When you're fine with it. You'll just put yourself fully out there with no restraint, no self-judgment. You're not the inner Woody Allen, the part of you that's judging yourself turns off. The first time I reached that, I was like, okay, this is something, because then you're 10 times more charismatic than you thought you could be. You're approaching girls you couldn't approach before. You're getting instant makeouts, things like that. So for me, the first time I got that, and then I realized there's a way to not be insecure. There's a way not to be anxious. There's a way to actually be who you think you should be in your head. That was a very transformative moment.
Okay. Yeah, I would say for me, there was 3 turning points. First of all was when I learned about, the concept of the pickup community, and I read the book The Game, and I started researching, and I realized
That
there's
fucked
other
me up.
people who struggle with pickup. That was a big turning point for me, major weight off my shoulders. The second one came a few years later when I discovered the idea of being sexual and polarizing can actually work to your advantage. Primarily, I discovered that with online dating, but also with cold approach as well. That definitely took things up a notch. And I think the third was when I got into sales. I learned sales and I started applying a lot of sales concepts to pickup, like not getting emotionally attached to any lead, dealing with objections. So yeah, I'll say those are probably the 3 biggest turning points for me overall.
So the game actually, I think, did more harm than good for me, because I tried a lot of the principles in it, right? Trying to be very subtle and very tricky and all those things. And because I was insecure doing that, it actually made me come off weird. I remember my friends, after I read the game, I would do the techniques and they're like, used to be cool, and now you're kind of fucking cringy. That's what happened to me from the game. Now, knowing about pickup was good, but for like 5 years, it did more harm than good until I started going to bars and actually approaching.
Yeah, for me, there was a little bit of like a 2-week period where I was trying some of the cringy stuff in there, but I quickly learned, I quickly started using the game as a springboard to learn about other pickup channels and like get information from better sources. So I didn't
The
stay
difference
on
is you were
one.
actually trying, right? It took me like
I was-
5 years to
I was
actually do my
definitely
first
trying.
approach.
I was like, this was when I was 21. I was going out every single night in college trying to pick up girls. Yeah. Okay, let's go to either Austen or Lindbergh.
I can go last.
All right, sure. Yeah, so fuck yeah. The first turning point has to be, I mean, we're gonna start from the fucking beginning, right? That is the biggest turning point, really. So I discovered game actually when I was playing a lot of League of Legends, right? And I was looking at the League of Legends like subreddit, and I saw like R seduction. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? I go in here, and I start reading. I'm like, the fuck? They're talking about this as like a video game. Like you can learn this shit. And that's like I got hooked from that moment. I got so hooked. I remember like clearly I got hooked from that very fucking second. So that was like a big one for me. Then I started gaming and stuff. This was actually in Australia. I started gaming in Melbourne, Australia, and like my first, I would say like probably like 2 to 3 months. It's a little bit blurry, but 2 or 3 months. This was back in 2017 actually. I remember that like nothing was working. Like I wasn't getting any results really for the first 2 or 3 months. But then but I understood like very clearly that I have to focus on my body language. I have to focus on those things, right? Once I got those things down, I started being able to pull maybe like once or twice a week, and I just kept going. Like I said before, 10 to 12 hours every single day for like a year and a half to 2 years straight. This includes the period in 2018 when I also started with UMP. But like I feel like one of the biggest turning points was starting to verbally sexualize pretty much every single interaction. That was the difference between pulling 1 or 2 times per week to pulling every night. That was like really like the big difference. Then I would say after learning how to sexualize, I mean, obviously like frame control, all those things, like they came before. They were super important, but learning how to like really sexualize explicitly, and like choking girls in the club and stuff. That was the difference between pulling once or twice per week and every single fucking night. Sometimes 3 to 4 times per night. I remember many nights back in 2018 when I was still pretty fresh, to be fair. Like looking back at it in retrospect, I was a year and a half in. I had many nights where I could pull 3 or 4 times in a night with, if I had good logistics, like living pretty close to the club. So that was like a big breakthrough. Then I would say the next breakthrough was learning how to understand different archetypes of women and how they should be interacted with differently, different angles that you should take with them in terms of like how to display value, what sexualization is this girl going to be receptive to? Is this girl going to respond better to validation or validation strips? What type of objections or concerns is this type of girl more likely to have? So when I got to the point of being able to like understand that very well, that's when I feel like I got to the point where I could pull the first couple of girls that I spoke to every single night. And I feel like this is just like amplified over time, right? Like actually, I remember between this period, I was actually living with Indian PE in Vegas, right? And I was I don't know if you guys know this, but I was fat back then. Like I was probably like an easy like 35% body fat, and I just like looked like shit. It was ridiculous. But we could still go out there. Like I pulled Playboy models looking like shit, pulled other like kind of models as well, like from the tables actually, like from guys at the tables. And then I would tag guys in with them after, like, hey, you're gonna fuck my friend too, all this shit. But I feel like if we were to summarize this, the biggest things for me specifically were subcoms, learning how to sexualize, and with this comes everything that happens before that too, like learning how to display value and create attraction. I feel like that's kind of basic. And the third thing is learning how to understand different types of women and how they should be interacted with differently. And these are still the things that I've been focusing on really like up until this point, like today, and just getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into these different things. And I feel like it is really increasing exponentially, because you put me in front of a girl, I feel like I'm gonna have like a very, very high chance of fucking her at this point.
Yeah, just as a quick side note, one of the things that kind of impressed me about you and Marcus when I met you in 2018 was your ability to go into a group where there's like one hot girl and 4 like big jack dudes, and somehow 2 minutes later come out with a girl. And I saw you guys do that multiple times. I've done that a few times, but I've never been able to do that consistently. And I was like, all right, damn, like that's fucking impressive. These dudes are like literally like twice as big as you, and then somehow you get the
I mean that was my mindset back in 2018. I'm like, all right, hey, I want to improve as quickly as possible. This means that I need to push as hard as possible. I need to push my comfort zone as hard as possible. So ideally, I want to find a group of maybe 10 jacked guys, 1 hot girl, go straight for the girl, like boom, through the guys, like, guys, get the fuck out of the way, straight up to the girl, like, hey, you look fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's actually funny to observe. I remember one time, I don't know why this stands out. There was like some like big ass fucking Swedish dude, like 6'4", talking to a group of girls. You came in, and then you're like, all right, girls, let's do a huddle. And the guy was like trying to get in the huddle. You're like, no.
Yeah, that sounds so. But yeah, like I used to do that a lot back in the day, and that was actually like first of all, I thought it was hilarious, but second of all, I'm like, fuck, this is going to be really beneficial. Like this is going to be very, very good, because one thing that you need to get rid of in order to get really good like subcoms and like just to be able to run your interaction smoothly is you need to get rid of all hesitation. You need to get rid of all fear and hesitation. And there's a lot of fears and hesitations you have that you might not be aware about. And a big part of my learning process is really identifying these and just going all in on like fucking eliminating them.
Fair enough. All right, let's let Austen answer the question.
Yeah, so I don't think there's a good way to go about it if I just mention like in my particular game what was like a turning point. So I just put it like what actually made a difference, and that was these things. So basically, discovering game on the internet. If I didn't do that, nothing. I wouldn't have transformed. The day I decided to do my first approach, I was actually listening to Paul Jenka, and he said, like, if you made it this far in the program and you haven't done an approach, go do it. And then I did it, and it was like doing crack cocaine. It was pretty intense. It was so fun. Then free solo traveling Europe and game me every day. I just basically decided to pause my university for a semester. And I just went to Europe with some money I made from a painting business, and yeah, just traveled, gamed every single day. Then I told my family I was leaving university, and that was really hard because they gathered me around and said, "You're a fucking idiot." I'm like, "No,
same thing happened to me.
There's YouTube videos about this, and you can like make money." And no. And then meeting my mentor and starting to film him. That was Vadim from Honest Signals, and I helped that channel grow from like 25K up to over 100K. and then I left, started my own thing. But yeah, being asked to move to Canada and be a partner at that company was like a big deal for me. And then my job became get good at girls, get good at meeting girls, and get content. And that basically allowed me to get insanely, a lot of practice, basically.
You know what I really like about this is that you're showing respect to your mentors. I absolutely love that, because a lot of guys here, they don't do that, and I think it's fucking horrible.
Like, that guy's a bitch. I'm better than him now.
So I'm gonna take time to do that now. I feel like a lot of these big improvements that I had actually came from spending time with David Swift. This guy is a fucking game genius. I learned most of my game from him. And now, before I was gaming with him, I was being mentored by another Swedish guy. He also taught me a lot of amazing things, and there's no way that it would have been this good without them. No way.
Well, to be fair, Lindbergh, you were pretty good by the time I met you, and I think me and David met you around the same time. I mean, I'm sure you learned from him, but you were pretty good at that point.
Oh yeah,
people always say "Hey,
I got way better. I got way better since 2018. It's not even comparable at this point."
Okay, and people always say, like, what are the specific lessons they taught you that got you to a certain level? But I think one of the biggest things is just by being around those people, you absorb their beliefs about how things work, and then you can kind of pick up what they're doing just by observing, right? Most people, I wouldn't say most people, but a lot of people, they just don't observe what's in front of their eyes. Like, you could show them something and they're so trapped in their own stories that they don't even see what's happening. So if you can like drop your ego and say, hey, I can learn from this person, you'll pick up so much just from being around them.
Actually, I did write down every single thing. I took notes every day. I have notes of everything. I have a massive document with every concept, all of that shit. Like my first year and a half in game, I wrote field reports every single day. So I have the first years of field reports still on my Google Drive. But yeah, I actually took notes of everything at that point.
Yeah, I think that's good. I used to do that too. All right, let's answer this question. Can you ask the panel whether they would disagree that online dating has made cold approach obsolete, considering how easier it is? I would disagree.
Yes.
I don't think cold approach is obsolete.
Disagree.
Yeah, I think the thing that actually impacted cold approaching wasn't online game. It was actually Addy A game. Do you guys remember this?
No.
Eddie A game. I'm familiar, but
he's the guy who got like banned or something, right?
No, he went to jail for picking up a chick because they proved.
Yeah, and that started the 2018 purge of all the people online.
Exactly.
People don't even recognize that. It's like a historical event, the equivalent of like D-Day in terms of our industry. People don't even understand what it is. It's like 2018, like half of the dating channels got
Squat and Casanova.
Yeah. What exactly? Why did this dude go to jail? What was the crime?
Because picking up chicks is illegal. Here's why. It's called predation, which is basically observing someone and following them with an intent to talk to them.
Wait, was this in America or what country was this in?
I mean, the law is in America and in Europe. It happened in Scotland. But what happened was the woman pressed charges. Normally, women don't press charges, right? This woman pressed charges. That's the issue. Any woman can get you for harassment for walking up and talking to her in the street. You can't do that. Charities get licenses to be able to do it. You can't just go and talk to strangers.
I don't know, man.
What are you talking? I mean, no. It has to be persistent or extreme. I'm pretty sure those are the two.
You're right. Up and saying hi to a girl.
Remember, it's not based on the pickup artist saying is it persistent or extreme. It's based on the victim saying, I felt this was persistent and extreme.
But she has the burden of proof.
Yeah,
right.
It's like
I mean, in England, I know it's far worse than in the U.S.
Well, this is in England. That's a key point.
Okay, I don't know much about how it works in England. I know in the U.S., you're not you're just going up to girls and saying hi. You're not following them. And just being
there's salespeople everywhere.
But go back to your original point. That happened, and then what changed?
Well, and then he went to jail for 2 years. Now, he
went to jail for what? Harassment? There's got to be more to the story.
Well, predation.
This is a side point in the narrative that that Adam's talking about.
But either way, and this is the point you got to remember. It's just that no one in America, dude, no offense against America, you guys sue for everything.
Some of us are aware. Some of us on the panel are aware.
So before you guys this can't be illegal in America. No, it just hasn't happened yet. One day, some woman is going to say, fuck this guy, I'm going to sue or I'm going to take him to jail, and it will, maybe
I think that's exceedingly rare in the U.S.
Dude, okay, Adam, I hate saying that though, because I feel like you're contributing to the paranoia a lot of these guys have when they're afraid. Like, it's all about probabilities. Like, is it theoretically possible? Sure. Is it likely? No. Like, I've approached
never happened to anyone I know. None of my clients. Never happened to me.
But here's what. Well, no, wait. It has. Luke Krogh got kicked out of multiple shopping malls for approaching.
But there's a difference between getting kicked
Okay, but
out.
you say that to say what? You say
kicked out is
you say
different.
that to say
what
what?
I'm saying is,
I've been kicked out of places.
This is why there is a decline in cold approach. This was what happened. A lot of the dating coaches in 2018 were like, we need to come up with better methods than going cold approaching because of what happened to Addy Agate.
I think it's partially that, but it's also partially they just didn't reach their audience anymore. Their message wasn't out there because they were banned off the internet. So it's
these guys were still. There was a conscious.
Street Attraction was banned. What's it?
Mike Casanova.
Mike Squad Casanova was banned.
No, remember,
they had hundreds of thousands of.
But they could still talk to their clients. We've all got mailing lists. But it was a conscious choice behind the scenes to move into non-cold approaching methods to keep our students safe.
I think it created anxiety. I think what happened is several channels that posted infield got banned, right? But they were posting stuff that they shouldn't post. They're posting like girls in their place and shit like that, which you shouldn't do.
Yeah, let's get David Bond in here.
They got banned.
Can I give him the StreamYard link?
Yeah, for sure. They got banned, and then what happened is everyone else was afraid of also getting banned, right? So people took down infield. People got rid of that stuff, and they went into like RSD. They went out of hardcore pickup, and they went into.
So I want to be clear. RSD went out because I got hired internally to help because of Addy A-Game. Like this, it's not just
what year was that?
I worked for RSD in 2018, 19, just before COVID. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and to be clear, I straight up worked, and there was actually a guy that said he met me today in the 2019 summit. That's when RSD hired me to transition them out of pickup into more traditional because of Addy A-Game. So
there's a key part of this
isn't conjecture.
Well, and the Julian scandal too.
Well, I just quickly
hired for the Julian scandal. Yeah,
that's why that was a big.
I just quickly looked up the story, and there's a key part that's being left out, and that one of the girls was 16, one of the girls was 17.
Absolutely. Well, and there's so much to story, but that's not the point. The point is, the question was it online dating that decreased cold approach? No, online dating's been out for a long time. That didn't impact it. This is what impacted it. Addy A-Game impacted, and the YouTube channels getting shut down as a result of Addy A-Game. And so people developed alternate methods. Now, I don't think you shouldn't cold approach, by the way. Just like we totally teach it, but we don't have a reliance on it. It is one of a number of skill sets, including online dating, including all these other skills.
Yeah, I agree. It should be part of a. I just don't want the takeaway for guys to be like, oh, you should be worried about torture.
But I'm responding to the question, which is why did it decrease? Right. This is why it decreased. It wasn't online dating. It was this.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know because I was there.
And I would say it's cancel culture.
Oh, it
was this. Hello.
I'm gonna take the perspective of an economist and say all of these factors contributed.
Yeah, I'll agree with that too.
What we talking about?
we've had online dating. I mean,
David, you have an interesting take on this. Why has cold approach gone? Is cold approach less common nowadays because online dating is easier?
So obviously this is like a question that depends on the country, but I think there's one thing that pops into mind is during COVID, everyone was wearing the masks. And there was a 2-year period where like this concept of like interacting with strangers was weird or taboo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys for 2 years, it's unlikely they were bum rushing strangers at the mall when everyone's masked up and being told that if they get too close, they're going to go to jail. Okay. Number one. Number two, COVID pushed everyone on the internet, and their social skills started to deteriorate during that time. So that's the second thing. The third thing, I do think the Me Too thing kind of put a little,
anxiety.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many stories of guys getting in trouble for, there's just the culture moved in a direction where like being a man who's expressive about what he wants could risk being canceled, right? And obviously, I think pushing people on the internet did make people more comfortable with the concept of like socializing on the internet. So I think there's a lot of factors. Of course, the banning of all the pickup channels, right? Like anyone who had infield likely got nuked. So as a consumer of like, you know, the manosphere stuff, guys just had less. So for me, like I was a fat nerd working at the Carrot Factory, and watching other guys go up to girls and them like being okay with it, that inspired me to try it. In fact, Austen has this compilation. It's called like Watch This Before You Go Out. You know that compilation you made? Where it's like watch this before. It's like this like 30-minute video of him talking to girls. I used to watch that all the time. I still watch it when I want to get in because just watching another guy do it and, you know, getting a cool result, it inspires you to do it. So when all the guys who are doing that get banned, you have a mask on your face and you flip on the TV and it's like dudes getting in trouble for like more and more things.
Well,
right?
to be fair, it's not all guys. It's not even the majority of guys. I mean, we have me, Avery, Austen, Alex Lindbergh. I don't know about you, David. I don't know if you still have that on your channel. I don't know about Adam, but at least 4 people.
Dude, when that happened,
with the infield ban,
80%.
I got shut down. I had 70,000 subs. I got shut down.
For what? For having infield?
Yeah.
So all the ones that I saw that got
It's
banned,
risky.
what they had in common is they showed girls in their house, right?
Nope.
They showed
Nope.
past that. That's all the ones I saw. Like, yeah,
All the
I don't know
coach
about
videos.
yours.
I got messaged by YouTube. I had my channel since 2006. 70,000 subscribers. I've been on Epic Mealtime. I've got collaborations with some really big guys. Six Pack Shortcuts, which all big channels back in the day. Nope, shut me down.
That is fucked up.
What was the reason they gave you?
No, the reason was video footage without permission from people in the streets or whatever the fuck it was.
But you don't need. Yeah, that's weird because you don't need permission legally to film in public.
No,
yeah, but you need to blur on YouTube because
Yeah,
it's a private
you
platform.
need their consent. Yeah.
Yeah, because
They can
YouTube
complain.
can shut anyone down for any reason. And here's the thing, like
Right,
you
yeah,
guys
sure.
don't know this. I used to work with the YouTube space. I was like one of the first YouTube partners. So when my channel got shut down, I could contact YouTube and say what happened. They told me that like you have infield pickup footage, dude. You're done. They told me over the phone.
Mm. Okay, interesting. Yeah, maybe it was like wrong time.
Dude, the chat, as soon as David entered, the chat started just like foaming at the mouth, dude.
Why? What?
David, you pay for it. Is it true?
Here, hold on. This chat.
I feel like this question has been answered.
Is it true, David? Do you pay for it? Is it true? The rumors. This is like scandalous. What's it called? Reporters like TMZ back in like the early 2000s. Are the rumors true, David?
Am I supposed to respond to this for real? I thought we already like.
Channel 5 News here. We're here with David Bond. Are the rumors true, David?
Austin brought it up, not me.
Okay.
Do you not see the chat?
I do now. Let me
Okay.
scroll up. I mean, I don't really care about the chat. I kind of want to talk to you guys, but
Yeah, whatever.
I will say though, I have a personal opinion on the current state of the Manosphere Red Pill thing. I think that what's happening is, as you guys know, it's most of the most viral stuff is basically just kind of like dudes on microphones and like podcasts and like stuff like that. I noticed a big trend in like anything where there's a guy that's loud making attractive women feel or look stupid just goes viral as shit, right?
Like John
And so-
Zerka.
Yeah. So, and I think that this could be explained with you have a sexually a male population who's sexually frustrated, and you have the pickup stuff all got nuked. So there was like this vacuum that got filled, and infield and like what I would classify as like real dating advice. Everyone got kind of nervous about that, so it got filled. It's kind of like whenever a country like the leader falls and then all the terrorists like take over. You know, like the power vacuum gets consumed by ISIS or whatever. It's like all these guys fell and then like these microphone suckers just rushed in, and like now it's basically the meta is now like aggressive man making hot girl look stupid, and the girls my theory is a lot of the girls, they agree to it because they're like, dude, every time we go on these microphone sucker shows, we go viral. And so there's a symbiotic relationship between internet prostitutes and angry men, and then a sexually male viewer, right? And so the sexually frustrated male viewer is like, yeah, that girl's stupid. Oh, yes. And then the guy's like, he was like, you're stupid. The girl's like, oh, I'm not stupid. My OnlyFans.
Yeah,
it's like a triangle.
This is
it's like a CIA chart.
Yeah, I've said that before a bunch of times. This is a point I've been making for a while. Yeah, it's like rage porn.
Well, Evan Preach showed that one of the OnlyFans models gained $70,000 a month in revenue after going on Fresh and Fit.
Yeah.
$70,000 a month.
I knew about that even before the Evan Preach video. Yeah.
So
crazy.
I make the analogy to whenever Trump got elected, there was like this rise in like anti-SJW stuff. You had like Milo Yiannopoulos and like.
I missed that guy. He was funny.
Well, whenever Trump was elected, there was this backlash of like woke SJW stuff, and that also created the response of like Milo and Ben Shapiro and all these guys who were countering it. And because there was a lot of guys that were too scared to challenge the woke stuff, they watched all the like SJW wrecked videos and like libtard destroyed because it was like so therapeutic. You're like, yes. I think it's almost parallel to, the red pill thing. You have a bunch of sexually frustrated guys and they're like, dude, what the fuck, man? No one wants to, I can't get laid. I can't get a date. And all these girls are getting rich on doing nothing. And then here comes some guy who's like, girls are stupid. You're stupid. And the girl's like, oh, and they're like, yes, watch. And then the more viral it gets, the more it happens. And then everyone starts imitating that kind of archetype, I mean, just my theory, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think that your theory is absolutely on the money. I think like that's kind of common sense. Yeah. Like rage porn, rage, whatever does a lot better than practical, tangible information. Most people don't want to take action and do things that are difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fucking questioning how many people actually want to learn.
Not a lot.
People just want to pretend like, oh, I'm in the space, so I'm improving.
I think it depends on like, if we do like people watching my channel right now, let's do like different sample sizes. Let's take my whole audience, all the people who subscribe to my channel. I'd say 25% of them actually want to improve, maybe 50% being generous. Out of people who are watching this, I'll probably say it's like 60, 70, 80% because they're like actually like watching this.
What's the other percentage? Just people that are watching for entertainment?
Yeah, entertainment. They want to see us like fight.
Black pill
Drama. They like the drama.
Yeah. And then I would say that like the average like manosphere, it's probably like 10%, 15% actually.
Yeah, I think it's actually better in our circle than in others in this regard.
I do notice that whenever I go on Alex's live stream, like the chat's always like kind of silly, but then when I go on David's, it's just like it's a full standard deviation of retardation increased.
Yeah, I think
most of David's audience joined for Nikki's tits.
Yeah, it's basically like a bunch of guys who are like, ooh, hot girl click. Like that was it, So
well, speaking of which, you do have a pretty girl in the background, so I can see how that would happen, David.
Yeah.
David's like, I don't know how this is happening. Why are all these guys coming to jail for like girls,
Exploiting women's a full-time job, So she walks up. It's funny. But yeah, no, most of my audience is kind of like just horny kids who just want.
David, how did you meet these lovely ladies in the background?
So a lot of this is my assistant. That's just my assistant. She's cooking and cleaning and stuff. And Jess, I met her in Domageddon through Instagram ads. So as everyone knows, I run ads on Instagram and then girls DM me. So for like $40, I can get 700 DMs,
Damn.
And so run the ad, get a DMs, and then go on dates. So, yeah, Jess, come here.
What country are you in right now?
Come here. Come on. Why are you so shy? Okay. I need to exploit you. Come here. Okay. So she's a transgender woman. Just kidding.
Yeah, that's Thailand for sure.
Let me
protecting yourself from getting canceled.
Here, maybe we should do any friendly topics that a lady would like to talk about. So what do you like about me? Look at this.
What's like the best makeup brand in Philippines?
Yeah. She's talking to you. This is a live stream.
Hey, what did you say again?
What is the best makeup brand in the Philippines?
I didn't know.
She's not gonna. She's like paralyzed by fear every time I turn on the freaking webcam. This
is being broadcast to the entire United States right now.
Everyone in Dublin.
This is all you.
Yeah, she's not gonna do it.
If you do a bad job, you will be sent to North Korea. So just stay focused.
I have to go, like pretty soon. But if there's any other fun chats, topics.
I don't know. Well, I feel like we should do a little Q&A from the audience, and then we can wrap up. We've gone for like 2 hours. Unless there's something you guys want to discuss before we move on to Q&A.
I'll address this because they're saying, why am I backing out of this challenge for looks for L? So the reasons that I gave to Alex were that there's no advantage to doing a competition with someone who has 0 subscribers. And then on top of that, doesn't show his face. And then on top of that is just not even a cool guy to hang out with.
How would he do it?
I would be open.
His face?
I think they have to blur him, which would take a shit ton of work. So that's also kind of annoying. And yeah, the more you platform dumb people, you attract more dumb people. So that's one thing I don't want to. That's one mistake of Alex's that I want to learn from.
Avoid based on the comment section.
Don't platform people that are dumb.
I mean, I think
my list of priorities right now is my current students, my employees, my course, my YouTube channel, and then all other areas of my life. So, my physical fitness, health, and all that stuff. And there doesn't really make sense logically to do it. So I'm just looking what's the best move on the chessboard, and the best move on the chessboard is not to entertain someone's ego by platforming them who has no platform. It doesn't make sense.
Okay,
now,
I agree with.
If someone like John Anthony or Coach Kyle wanted to do it, and it could be like a fun collab instead of like a this versus this. Let's see who dies and who prevails. It's like it's kind of dumb. Versus like just picking up girls with David Bond, and like I go out and I explored Philippines with David Bond, meet a bunch of transsexuals. Like that would be awesome. But I don't think it has to be so combative, but
Austen, just one counterpoint. I do agree with all the reasons you gave. Those are the same reasons I gave. I think the reason for the confusion though is someone sent me like a link where he came on your live and you were like, it seemed like you were on board with the idea. So I think what
I was, but I didn't know that. I thought he had a channel and he was like a black pillar and he was established.
So you thought he basically thought he had like a platform.
What benefit does it do for me to platform someone with bad ideas who has kind of mid-tier game that doesn't have a platform?
No, I agree with you completely.
I'm trying to reach more people with a positive message, and I don't want to not accomplish that goal. So I don't know.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Avery, would you do it, or you feel the same?
Would I do it? Yeah, it depends on the guy. So in general, yes. If they have to hide their face, that's a pretty big negative to me, because you can't really see what's happening. It's a lot of extra editing. It's just that's bullshit. If they would show their face, would I do a challenge with a black pillar? Sure, yeah, happily.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
There would definitely be some shitty people who would watch it and drama and whatever, but it would get people's attention and it would show the difference between someone who's thinks the black pill's real and what actually goes down. So I'd do it anytime. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you wouldn't have to do any work on your end. Like PWF would host it. We take care of the editing and all of that. So there would be no work on.
I mean, I go to
what would
Miami
be an interesting video? I think I'm going to do this. So Wheat Waffles has a video. It's like 100 truths of the black pill for everyone to understand. Black pill belief 1. And he just goes through 100 things. It would be interesting to like not only have contention with those and like debate them, but to actually show the reality. Like, do you guys see that Instagram clip where it was like, who's that guy? Andrew Tate. He was like, you don't meet 10s in the daytime. They don't exist. 10s don't go outside. You have to only meet them in Monaco. And it's literally like it cuts to my student meeting the literal hottest woman on the planet who won like Miss World, and like having a long interaction with her. She's laughing, having a good time, grabbing her number, setting up plans. It's like, Well, you clearly can. So that'd be interesting to do that kind of thing, like Black Pill Belief 1, and then like show the actual reality.
I mean, they'll say
That
it's
would be-
staged, but it'll still be good content.
Well, whatever. You can't please all the people all the time.
Yo,
Well,
Avery.
I will say it is funny. Like,
Go ahead.
Yeah,
like
what's-
when girls look too good, the accusation of it being fake goes up, and then like when they look like less good, then they just attack you for the fact that the girls aren't very cute. You know, so it's almost like when you actually do what they, you know, when people will say, oh, they're ugly, and then when they're really hot, they go, oh, it's fake, because look at how hot they are. It's like their hotness is evidence of its fakeness, and then when they're in a more realistic appearance range, now it's just that they're ugly, and that means you suck. So you can just
And also, if it's someone like Coach Kyle, who's fairly good looking, if it's someone like him, they believe it. But then if it's someone who's not good looking, they're much more likely to think, oh, that it's
I always
There's
joke
no way
like,
it's real.
the only real way to kind of like appease like all the objections is like you'd have to like be homeless in San Francisco doing blackface and like on a McDonald's budget. You know what I mean? Because like no matter what you do, they're like, oh, it's because you're white. Oh, it's because of this. It's because your money. Oh, your height. So you have to be like, you have to like cut off your legs, do blackface in San Francisco as a homeless
Cut off
person.
your legs.
Work at McDonald's.
Now there's a video.
Only then can you meet a girl who actually likes you for you, right? Because as a guy, you know, girls being attracted to us by all these.
No, David, but that's just pity pussy, so that doesn't count either.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, they're only doing it because they feel sorry for you. Yeah.
Like,
But-
yeah, I mean, David, you're 100% spot on, right? Like, most of the guys, we were talking about this earlier, just gonna have excuses for why they can't fucking do it, right? Like, and like, as someone who's done this for 18 years, I'm telling you guys, I've been in documentaries, I've had news reporters come down and be like, "There's no way you can do this," and I've proved it to all of them, right? You know, like people were like, "There's no way you have 2 girlfriends," so I went on the Steve Harvey show, and they're like,
Dude,
"Yeah,
you
but
should
how-"
battle looks for L. That's gonna
Right.
be the ultimate.
Well,
That's
no,
the
and then
ultimate
thing is,
test.
like I always say, I got 5 kids. I've had sex at least 5 times, right? Like that's evidence. Like you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
and
we
I'm
haven't
thinking-
seen any of these.
Yeah, we got to see
kids.
the paternity test, bro. Maury.
No, that's fine. I have to have it because I have a genetic condition that means that my kids have to get DNA tested. So I know my kids are mine. Like that's a fact. Well, technically, you know, they.
What genetic condition do you have?
So my son, one of my children, has something called congenital adrenal hyperplasia. I'm a
Is that like
carrier.
the artery or something here?
No, his body. You guys are gonna have a fucking field day with this. He can't generate cortisol at all.
Oh.
He cannot experience stress. Instead, his body gives him anabolic steroids, and I'm a carrier of this condition.
Bro,
So
that
if I-
explains it all. Why didn't you tell us this
I
from the
knew you guys
beginning,
would have
bro?
a fucking field day with this. So if I have a child with somebody, if that woman has to have a test, and we have to confirm that the kids are mine because we have to look for congenital adrenal hyperplasia because it also means that they cannot process salt. If you can't process salt, you die. And so my son can't process salt, so we have to give him salt supplements. So anyway, the point is I'm incredibly knowledgeable about this, but I know my kids are mine. Like I have to know my kids are mine because of this condition.
Wait, so is this your son? He has no cortisol. He doesn't fear anything. He doesn't get stressed out by anything.
He may have the same condition. I don't know that guy. My son's 8 though, so I'm pretty sure that's not an 8-year-old child.
No, I'm just saying because if he doesn't experience stress, your son would be like an amazing like extreme
dude.
athlete, like climbing or something like
Yeah,
that.
no, they told me as like that we have to watch out for it. But like when he broke his arm when he was 6, and then he started climbing again, and I was like, dude, you just fucking broke your arm. And he goes, yeah, but they protected it now, Dad, and kept climbing. So anyway, yeah. Long story short, so you know, a lot of these guys basically are never going to be impressed with you. They're never going to be anything. Here's what I'll say, David. Only just seeing you here, like I make a point everywhere I go, wherever I'm at, I have women with me because I just like having women with me. And the amount of times I go to pickup events or dating conventions, it's just a bunch of dudes hanging out with a bunch of dudes talking about how good they are. I'm like, let me just watch you interact with a woman, then you'll know, right? There's a woman.
Adam, I feel like you and David have a lot in common. Like you guys just love hanging out with girls all the time.
Yeah,
I like
'cause
need my space, dude. My introversion is like
I couldn't do that either. I will go insane.
I love my space, but I love my space with like David, you can't see, she was here earlier, but my woman, one of my women is
dude, David, you found your fellow harem quester in Adam over here.
Oh yeah.
You guys should compare notes.
Clusters. I know. Hey.
Hello.
David's like,
Anyway.
no one does what I do. It's so annoying. I don't have any like harem questing friends.
Look, I've got it's not a harem. There's just two. They just happen to be in the same house.
That's what I do. I'm not Joe
Your
Rogan.
parents are like, are you playing nice with your harem questing friend, sweetie?
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. So most of these guys, it's just out of their reality that they could actually that they could even get good with women, and they don't want to imagine it because they have to actually put some effort in. But to me, like, you got this wonderful woman sitting next to you. She's clearly nervous about being on camera, and yeah, as long as she's cuddled up next to you, she feels fine and safe. This is real analysis of game. I have no doubt. Like, I've never seen David game. I don't need to see David game. David has made a woman feel comfortable enough that she can sit next to him, cuddle up to him on a freaking camera. He then looks at her for validation of the smile. She looks back and confirms, right? So we're getting everything we need in game. I can see game a mile off. I know what good game looks like. And that's why it cracks me up when you see some dude turn up without any women who talks about how good they are. And I'm like, until I see you with a woman, I ain't going to believe you.
Well, I didn't know.
If you still doubt David, you can actually go to his OnlyFans and you can watch him put his penis inside these women.
Incorrect. I don't have any of that, but yeah, there's no porn. There's no porn. It's all just most of it, honestly, is my live streams that I privated. Like it's like a bunch of unlisted videos on YouTube and some Colombian girls.
Dude, just say it's the spicy content and people will click through.
Okay.
If you say there's no nudes.
I don't want to lie. So, oh shit. Stop that. Oh dude, I had something I was gonna.
Oh yeah,
hey,
let's continue the Q&A. What's a topic?
I wanted to ask Adam.
Yeah, you can ask Adam a question, and we'll get back to the Q&A.
Yeah.
Can we dedicate the rest of the live stream to Adam, please? 18 years.
No, Adam. So having two girlfriends or three girlfriends, or I never kept track of like how many. Do you ever feel like it's a little bit? Does it feel a little bit more like a father-daughter dynamic or like brother-sister sometimes? Because like,
ugh, no way. Oh my!
No
I got
way?
5 kids. It's totally different. Don't even. God damn it, David. Fuck you. She's in the background. Daddy, daddy. She goes. I call him Papi. She's from Orange County. You don't even have a fucking Hispanic accent. Anyway, no. So no, it doesn't, because I have kids. I know what it feels like to be a dad. It's nothing like that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what that feels like.
Yeah, there you go. She goes. You're the child here. No, what it feels like is that I have 2 incredibly wonderful women who, between the 2 of them, run my life. So Eve, my wife, she handles our financial investments, our stocks, our shares, our properties, our business dealings. She's the vice president of my mergers and acquisitions company. She handles meetings with high-level partners. And she likes to call herself the neck of my operation, and I'm the head. And she goes, and never forget, the neck tells the head where to look. So she controls.
Is she kind of like the operations manager for stuff?
And beyond, she's the vice president. We have an operations manager. She's above them. She meets with our financial team. She confirms that everything's going where it's supposed to be, that people are paid the way they're supposed to be paid. She negotiates high-end deals. Like, that's what she does. And then Kat is my handler. Kat controls my calendar. Like, Kat's the one that put me on the podcast here. Kat's the one that says where I'm going to go and what I'm going to do in my own personal life. Kat tells me to go to the gym. Kat tells me what to eat. And Kat's like, yo, take your medicine at the right time, right? So Kat controls my personal life. Eve controls my business. And I'm basically a child.
Yeah, David has a CCO, so this girl's his CCO. It's a chief cuddling officer, and she just mainly focuses on her strengths, which is cuddling and canoodling as well.
That's good. I love David. I just met David. I think David's great. But you can just tell that people have game, right? Like that's the whole point. Like,
bro,
and that's the thing. And you can tell the people that don't have game. And to me, it's really simple. If you hang out with women and they don't want to hang out with you, you suck. If you hang out with women and they go, I really like this person, I want to hang out with you, you're good.
The truth is, it's all about some people the shirts, right, Austen? Let's see. Oh shit! You know, be
this
funny.
is how you know you're part of the secret society.
I should go wear the shirt you're wearing right now. It's like we'll both be like it.
What is this shirt? What's the brand? I can't see it in the logo.
It's just our mastermind. We have this logo.
No, Austen asked me where I buy my shirts, and he just like bought all the same shirts as me, and it's funny because and I'm like, hey, it looks exactly.
Okay. Let's frame it differently. Now I just sound like a fanboy.
I think, guys, you want to go with
I said, dude, it's so hard to find well-fitting collared shirts, and you're like, bro, try this brand. and they fit
Guys,
well. So
just try Batman shirts. That's my new.
I want to wear everything David wears. Such a big fan.
Yo, anyway, let's
What are you talking about?
let's get back to this question. Can you ask how each coach uses social media in their dating strategy? Which use do they recommend for students?
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
The fuck?
I personally use Instagram. I think it'd be very helpful if a girl thinks like whatever your account is fake or whatever. Send her my Instagram. Here you go. That usually disproves a lot of concerns a girl has. But yeah, I don't really fuck with Snapchat or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
used
agree
to.
with that.
Snapchat used to be great. Instagram can be if you make good stories. It's definitely useful if you put in the effort. It's not required. A lot of people are what they're gonna do is they're gonna say, I need to have good social media before I can get laid, and use that as an
Yeah, you
excuse.
don't. That is such bullshit. Like, you really do not. I got my Instagram like 2 years ago.
Yeah, so that's a
It's
very
new for
common
me.
one. Personally, I used to use Instagram and Snapchat a lot for pickup, but now I have pickup Snapchat and pickup Instagram, so I just get numbers, right?
For me, I don't give a fuck what social media platform you use. Just be doing awesome stuff. Take pictures of it and post it every single day, or videos and post it every day. But like, be doing awesome stuff, because you want people to be looking at your social media and saying, "Wow, I wish I was doing that." That's the goal. Like, for example, like for dinner today, I made a fresh nasi goreng. Like, I travel a lot. I like cooking. Nasi goreng is like one of my favorite dishes to make. It looks beautiful. I always stylize it cool. I took a cool picture of it. And at some point in the next 24 hours, I'll post a picture of it. And women will message me and be like, "Oh my God, that's so cool. I wish I could have it." And then I'll be like, "You should come over sometime. I'll make it for you." And they go, "Oh, that sounds great. When?" And I'll be like, "I've got a whole bunch of people coming over Saturday. Come over Saturday." And that's how it works. Easy.
Adam, actually have a question for you. How does your relationship work? Like, is it a one-way open relationship? Like, you fuck other chicks and your girls fuck you? Or is there like some kind of like a voting system? Like, what's the structure?
Yeah, we sit down around a website and we analyze all the potential. No, I'm joking. So no, it works like this. Me and Eve, we've been together for 10 years. When we first met, I was dating somebody else. Eve came into that relationship. For a while, we were closed poly. So it was just the three of us. We didn't have sex with anybody else. We broke up with one of the women. So her name was Brooke. So we broke up with Brooke. And so now it's just me and Eve. Once it was me and Eve, Eve said to me, "Listen, I don't really have the drive to want to go out and meet new people." She's like, "I'm not really interested in seeing other guys or anything like that." She's like, "But I know you have needs. So anytime you meet a woman, if you want to date her or you want to bring her here, that's totally fine. We can keep the relationship going like that." And so that's how it's continued for the last 4 years since that separation. We haven't made a big deal of it in the media because the first time we came out and said it, we ended up going viral and everyone was in our love life and everyone was like, "What's going on?" And we were just like, "We don't want to deal with that again." And so I've kind of kept it quiet. About 3 months ago, I met a wonderful young lady and we started dating. And she's poly, but she's cool as shit. And we weren't going to say anything until we ended up on the Michael Sartain podcast. And obviously, you guys know, but for David doesn't know, for those that just joined, I was defending her because one of the guys on the podcast was basically being an asshole. And it was hysterically funny because he was like, "Look at this guy white knighting. There's no way he's ever gonna, have sex with this chick." And it was hysterical because we've had sex many, many times. So, so that was the humor. So that's what was going on.
Yeah, I'll mention.
That's pretty similar to my relationship. The only exception is my girlfriend would not be cool with me like dating other girls. But yeah, I just fuck other girls. But yeah, more or less similar.
No, I'm allowed to date. I mean, like Kat, like I'm at home. Kat's like here. I mean, she's sprawled out like a cat. That's what she does. She's awesome. And my wife's like in the other room. So,
what were you gonna say, Austen?
Yeah, do you want me to share my screen for my show how I do my social media?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So it's my Instagram. So I have like some. I do think it's good to have a good mix of like status photos where you're with other guys and it's kind of like you tag them, photos where you travel and that kind of stuff, but also photos that show your personality and what you want in your ideal partner. So I don't just have like photos of me in like at a cafe. I have like photos in nature because I love women that love getting into nature, my ideal woman like wants to live on a farm and like have a shit ton of animals. So I show a lot of that. Yeah, and I wanted to give two examples of two extremes. So I think Mike has the best Instagram in terms of like quality and straight up photography. Every one of these photos is objectively a good photo.
Yeah, Mike goes the mile when it comes to photography. Like this guy that wakes up 5 a.m. He's got a tripod. Dude, it's like disturbingly incredible how much Mike puts into
it. And his one thing I learned from him is every trip he goes on, he only focuses on getting one awesome photo from it, and then he's happy. So this is like objectively the best photos, but as you can see, most of them are kind of posed, and that can kind of give off more of like a stiff vibe. I know that's the trigger word.
I wouldn't say most of them are posed. I would say some, but it's pretty good.
Like these are I know how he takes photos, so like he's here clicking the Sony button for
he's
like
posing for the photo, but doesn't mean the photo looks posed. Like a lot of these look pretty good.
Yeah. However, I just gave this example because I think it's like the farthest side of the spectrum of like how good your photography can get. Like this is better than professional photographers' Instagrams. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have Louis Farfields. He's also like a text game guy. Almost every single one of these photos is objectively a bad photo. But I don't say that to diss him because his emphasis is on the vibe behind the photos. So like this photo, he's blocking his face, like what's going on, but you can kind of feel the energy. Same here. He's like laughing. So the way that the girl is going to feel different emotions almost matters more than is this objectively a good photo? Like this is objectively a great photo. However, something like, let's say like this kind of conveys the type of vibe that he wants to better. And then he makes like, he'll put like different photos and videos behind one particular thing.
I would say
this is that I've done that's different is I wanted to prove that you can just take something that works on social media and use it to your advantage. So this is a video format where you just ask people basic questions and they have no idea what the answers are. And if anyone doubts this, go out tonight and ask a girl, how many moons does the Earth have? Most people you ask don't know that there's one moon around the Earth. It sounds fucking weird, but a very common answer you'll get is like 12, I don't know, 10. So anyway, I went out and asked basic questions and just filmed it and got people's opinions on it. And this got 1 million views.
Wait, people don't know that the Earth has one moon?
Correct. Go literally.
People are very dumb.
Literally go out and ask like 5-10 people after this. You'll be like surprised.
Some people think the world's
I've
flat.
actually experimented with those and can confirm. I did it with, can you name a country in North America? And yeah, people couldn't do that.
I think with social media in general, it's just if you're showing a world that a girl would want to join.
Yep.
And like I think of it kind of like, you know, if there's a pool and there's cold water and there's warm water, you're just slowly going to navigate towards the warm water. Like it doesn't ask you to, or like really good music, or like the smell of delicious food. Like you want to be like that. You're just kind of projecting your world. And if you project a world that a woman would want to join, that's a good Instagram on average, right? So showing you doing things that girl, you know, like I wouldn't be like busting out this selfies during like me and my accountant doing taxes, right? Because that's not a party, yeah. But something that a girl would want to do. So anything that's adventurous for fun, anything that's fun, I think is my quote I always is I think fun is the currency of sex, where all things being equal, anything that just generates a smile and is fun, girls are just going to kind of gravitate towards, right? And I think of it like your Instagram is a marketing campaign for you, and you're the product, and the way that you would sell, the way that you would get a successful sale is a girl wants to meet you, right? So it's like a billboard, like who is Austen? Who is David? This is not my dating Instagram, by the way. If you want to see my dating one, go to David Funny 007. So I do something a little different. I make new Instagrams every country, and I'll just start from zero each time. So I'll make a new Instagram because I like to downplay like who I am. You know what I mean? I'll start with a fresh Instagram, throw up maybe like 6 shots, and then run ads on it. You know, so yeah, this is like my current like just Instagram that I would run ads on. Wait, what? Report. But what was I gonna say? I will say I've been doing some experimentation with meeting girls on TikTok. So I'll share some cool photos that.
How does TikTok pickup work?
I'll get into that. Maybe I could share some of these.
What's your TikTok?
Yeah, you can share. You can share whatever you want. I'm just gonna use the restroom real quick. I'll be RB.
Yeah, David. Just type in David White. David. Dude, why is my light always weird, man? I feel like I'm just dark all the time. Look at this. I get a new camera, bro.
What camera are you using?
I'm just using my webcam on my Razor Blade.
It's probably doing an auto white balance. Your background's got very bright whites.
Yeah, Alexa, turn off all the lights. Let's see if that fixes anything. Alexa, turn off.
Okay.
Yeah, see, now it's corrected. It's got brighter on you. Not aim that right at you.
Yeah. Okay, looks. I'm shooting at the wall. Oh, yeah,
David, if you want to, you can share it. I'm like, it's
It's not important, to be honest. But so generally, what I've discovered with TikTok is very like geo based. So if you have an American SIM card, your content is going to be showed. TikTok will make the assumption that you're American, yeah. So if you swap into, let's say, a Colombian SIM card, it's going to assume you're Colombian, and it will start to show your stuff to people in Colombia. Now, what this means is if you do a SIM swap into whatever city or country you're in.
A SIM swap?
Well, when you change to a SIM card of the local
I'm just kidding. I was saying SIM. Okay, keep going.
You can do a SIM swap. You go into the local SIM. So let's say you're in Costa Rica, pop in a Costa Rican SIM card, boom. Suddenly your For You page is going to be a bunch of stuff in the area. You can make TikToks that provoke a reaction. So here's an example. I'll do a TikTok like this. Do you know what I hate about the Philippines? And then I'll go, the people are just too nice. And then I'll go into this speech about how some old lady invited me into her house to have chicken, whatever. The point is, you have the beginning of the TikTok be like provocative, where it makes the viewer stop, they watch it, and then you have a call to action, right? So then you have like a call to action to your bio, which is like DM me on Instagram. Now, TikTok is really viral. If you get one that's viral enough and it has a call to action, you can actually get like hundreds of girls to DM you. You know, it does take time posting and all that, but if you go to places where like, I don't know if you guys have noticed certain regions are more viral than others. Like Colombia is like really viral. Thailand's really viral.
I didn't know that.
Meaning that there's niches in those categories that are really popular. Like maybe you guys haven't seen videos like this. There's these videos called like 4K walkarounds, where it's just a dude walking the streets of a city, and it's kind of like a voyeuristic deal. These channels do millions and millions of views. Like
you're saying, if I go to Colombia and I fuck a bunch of big titty Colombian girls, I can go viral?
If you go to there are places that just have a voyeuristic like viral niche, and if your content like kind of accidentally taps into that algorithm, you can just explode. You know, as someone who changes countries like every 2 months, I notice the trends, right? But with TikTok, you know, if you change to the local SIM, you make TikToks that provoke a reaction, and you have a call to action. You can have girls send you DMs from TikTok. And
what's your call to action that you use on TikTok?
So here's an example. I have a TikTok that I made. It was like, if you live in the Philippines, I have a question. I have been to this city, but I want to go to a city that no one's ever heard of. One that maybe doesn't even have a McDonald's. If anyone knows a city I could visit, send me a message on Instagram because I have a surprise, something like that, right? A video like that.
My penis.
Yeah, yeah. So a video like that, someone who may know a city that no one's ever heard of will get excited to help me. Okay, and so that's just an example. Or here's another one. In the Philippines, there are one of the most dream jobs of girls is to be a flight attendant, Would you agree with that? What is mm-hmm?
That's interesting.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Most girls want to be a flight attendant. It's like their fucking dream job. So I made a TikTok and I said,
It's weird. Yeah.
I was like, you know what I hate about Filipinas? I cannot find a girl in this country that like wants to be a flight attendant, goes to church, and I describe what most girls are. And I go, I pan to my buddy and I'm like, that girl just doesn't exist. And then I go to me and I'm like, if anyone knows a girl like that, send me a message. And then of course I get hundreds of DMs. I'm that way. Oh, you describe me. That's literally me, right? You know what I mean? But the point is, you have a TikTok region, you tag the location, you have the SIM card, you have some kind of quasi-controversial beginning. And if it kicks, if the video does well, you can get leads from that, you know? So that's something I'm experimenting with. It's very like, you know,
See,
untested.
this is what I like about
Who
David.
would want to be
like
a airline hostess person? That
Yeah,
to me
that's
sounds like the
totally-
worst possible job ever. You're breathing in jet fumes. You're breathing recycled farts air
They
for
don't
like
really think
8
about it
hours.
that
You're
far,
changing your
right?
circadian rhythm. Like,
Dude,
But
you
this
living
is
in
like
the
kind of like,
don't live in the
Why?
Philippines, right? Like I've spent like months living in the Philippines. The average person there would kill for a job or works fast food. They want to get out.
I mean, I'll say this: like David Bond's definitely kind of like an evil genius, which I like. But I guess like the objection I think some people would have is like, okay, this is all good stuff, but would it work in a first world country like America without having to like really increase? I'm sure it would work if you like really up the ad budget with Instagram ads, but like, is it possible to do it within a reasonable budget in the U.S.? I guess. I think last time we talked about
all right,
this-
let me double down on my dumbness because I'm getting called out right now. One of the most important parts of what makes a good life is your health. And if you're breathing jet fumes, if you are breathing recirculated air, if you are at a high enough altitude where the gamma rays or whatever from the sun are hitting you, how is that a good life? I've done world tours and I know what it feels like to be in a new city every week. It's fucking horrible. You can't sleep properly, and when you can't sleep properly, your whole life falls apart. So
I mean, I
that's my
agree
thing.
with everything you said.
And
yeah.
every air flight attendant chick that I've known that I banged, whatever, I asked them, "What do you do when you're home and you have 15 days off a month?" They go, "I just sleep. I literally don't leave my bed." It's like, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't seem
All the
like a
way.
good job to me.
Austin,
either.
I agree with you, by the way, just for the record. I know why the Filipinos like the idea of being a flight attendant, but I do agree with you. It's terrible.
Well,
Bro,
let's
you're
go
in a
back.
plane.
Let's go back to
No,
David.
you're in a plane, bro. You're in a plane, James. Fuck you.
Wait, let's let David answer the question because he was
no.
about to
So
say-
I think it's a good objection, and there's no doubt that many of the things that I try probably wouldn't work to the same degree in other places, especially places like the States. But I think the States is the type of place where it's more accurate to think in terms of which state than the country. Because I think there are certain things that would probably work well in a small town in the middle of the country that may not work well in like Miami. I'm totally comfortable saying that probably like the IG ads, for example, in Vegas, it does not work. I've tried and tried and tried as someone who spent a lot of time in Vegas. And my analysis is that who else is running ads in Vegas? I don't know. How about the Lambo rental company and the fucking Wynn Casino? Okay. I don't think David's $20 a day of budget is going to like pierce the fucking ad space compared to Wynn Casino, who's like sliding the slider of the budget to the max and hitting smash. Right. So I think it's more of a question of like in an attention economy, when it's congested and your other competitors have higher budgets, certainly you're going to get drowned out. It's much more difficult. Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
great about this discussion is that most of the people listening to it have never talked to a woman. So it's really relatable. And
well, hang on.
we're talking about like, yeah,
Don't
so dating is more of like ad spend and economics. And
I gotta defend my audience. At least 50% of them have talked to girls, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, wait. I do agree with you that it definitely depends on the city. We did a Tinder experiment where we wanted to see the difference between first-tier cities and second-tier cities, and we found that in a second-tier city like Pittsburgh, you can get maybe 4 times more dates than a first-tier city like Miami or LA. So, yeah, I agree with you on that.
So, yeah, I think there's no denying that there's a lot of things that I do that won't work in some places as well as they are in the places, right? There's no denying that. But I think so. Like, I have this thing, I call it Bottle's theorem, which is Bond's optimal dating location theory, which is my own little theory that I created. You know, it's so cool. But effectively, Bottle's theorem states that a place is better for dating when it's highly lived in but not visited. Basically, when you go to places that are high stimulus, your date, I don't think of dates as I'm a man who wants to be a woman. I think of it like your date is an offer in an economy of other offers, right? So if you're a girl and you're in Las Vegas and you're attractive, you have promoters, you have invitations, you have tourists with high budgets that are willing to like, here's an example. I set up a fake seeking arrangements profile as a girl, and I put it in Vegas. And dude, I got fucking DMs. I got DMs from Credit. You know that guy Credit, the fucking credit card guy. His first message was, "Hey, do you want to go backstage to Deadmau5 tonight? LOL. Text me." I'm like, okay, right. So when you're in Vegas, a girl's options are simply just so big that when Austen goes in with his shirt and is like, "Hey, do you want to pet my doggy?" It's just not going to stand out as much. Now, if Austen invites girls to pet his doggy in, like, you know, Alabama, where the girls' options are like, you know, hunting crocodiles and fucking going to the gas station
and fucking your sister.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So the point is, like, when you're in a high stimulus environment where the other players have higher budgets and they don't have as many boundaries, it's harder to stand out. So
that's true.
Like, basically, when you go where it's kind of boring, you're going to get a lot more yeses because the girl's options are simply less saturated, and the stimulus of the city is lower. Yeah.
The best city I've ever been into in the U.S. for pickup was fucking Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long were you there for, and what's your set sample size?
Me or David?
You.
I wasn't there for that long. I was there for like 24 hours, and sample size, it was just, I put my Tinder there like a day or two ahead of time. I was having so many matches and so many girls were down. I was literally able to save on a hotel. I was able to drive straight to a girl's house, fuck her, pass out in her bed, and then next morning take off and drive to Texas. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I gotta be real. My system for traveling is pretty simple. I download a dating app on the plane, and then message as many people, build the profile while I'm sitting in the airport, message as many people as possible while I'm sitting on the plane, bored out my brain. By the time I arrive, I have dates. It's the easiest, simplest freaking way to do it. I don't know why anyone, it doesn't need to be that complicated. Like, just make a really good profile. Things that I do that are a bit different, I think, than other people. I will get my pictures rated. I forget which website I use now. I haven't done this for such a long time because I've been dating up. But there's like, you can like get your photograph rated by women. They'll tell you how good they are.
Please don't tell me use Photo Feeler.
Absolutely. Yeah. So use Photo Feeler.
I use it too.
Absolutely. Get all my pictures rated.
They're such better.
Well, hey, if you've got better ones, I'll take it. But yeah, Photo Feeler is great.
Yeah, let's talk offline. I'll definitely. I got you.
But I mean, honestly, like I'm not doing.
Well, Alex, why don't you talk about the strat? What is it? Is it a person? Is it a method? Is it a website? Because what I've seen is that Photo Feeler tends to really strongly correlate with what photos do well online and get me messages, and
it's
like
not perfect,
people like
good
as well. Yeah. On Instagram. So I've seen a really strong correlation.
There's the problem. I've tested this pretty extensively. Photo Feeler will give you the kind of photos that will do really good on your LinkedIn. It's the kind of photos the girls think they should.
So here's why you're wrong, Alex. I know what you're saying. You can look into the data and you can see what percentage of people rate you very attractive and what percentage rate you very unattractive. So you can see in the data if it's polarizing, then you can see which ones are like, holy fuck, this guy's really hot, I want to fuck him. Versus just having average clusters.
So what I was going to finish, I was going to say is that I think a much more effective method is taking your photos, 5, 6, 7, 8 photos, sending them to 4 or 5 girls that are attractive, they're within your demographic, girls that you want to fuck, and saying, hey, pick out the best one, pick out the second best one, pick out the third best one. That I think will give you much better data, as I've observed.
It doesn't even have to be either or, because one thing with photos is you don't know which one's better than the other, like just straight off the bat. So you can take two pretty similar photos and put them on Photo Feeler, and it'll tell you which one's better, and then you can take that and have them vote versus that one.
Guys,
The voting score is an inferior method. Like,
so I want to be super real with this. Like when I do it, I just take the pictures and I just use the same ones for ages, right? So like that's how it works. So I've got like a batch of like 20 pictures I know are good, and I've tested them on dating sites that worked. I build the profile, I write it. Some key components that I put in my profile, like I chop and change, but one of them is I'll make my bio rhyme. That's hysterical because when a girl works out your bio rhymes, they message you off that. Number two, I actually write at the bottom of my bio a binary question I ask them to answer. So I'm like,
yeah, we just keep losing people. No one's even saying bye anymore.
Yeah.
Does no one say goodbye anymore? This is like that.
That's fine. So I'll literally write down stuff like, I'm looking for good sushi in the area because it's similar to David. Like every woman likes sushi, or at least every woman I want to date likes sushi. So I'm looking for good sushi in the area. Is there even any good sushi in insert town here? Because I want the answer to be yes or no. Not
like,
this.
Yeah, my pussy. Ha ha ha.
Dude, if her pussy smells like sushi, I ain't eating that restaurant. And so, long story short, I'm like, is there good sushi in the area? Let me know. And so women will literally respond, not to date me, but to tell me there's good sushi in the area. And then my entire message, I'm on the flight, and I'm like, God damn it, where's this place? They'll tell me, I'm like, fuck, you're selling me on it. Like, I kind of want to go there tonight. I have no idea how to get there or where it is. Like, I don't suppose you're going with some friends and I could tag along. And they'll be like, no, I'm not going with any friends. It's the best sushi restaurant in town. But like, I'd love to go there tonight. I'm like, well, fuck it.
So I have a
funny
story of a guy who, when it comes to like his dating profile, I knew a guy who he instead of taking good photos, he took photos in front of a green screen and then just superimposed him in front. So amazing. So there was this guy that used to advocate for pretending to be a DJ and like faking all your pictures. I forget what his name is, some married guy, but he took his course and he like would go in front of a green screen and pretend to be a DJ. So this guy was friends with a few other guys who did the same thing. So they were all lying about being a DJ. So there was one time where we were all together and we all went out. And so these guys were like, I'm a DJ. He's like, I'm a DJ. And they're like all pretending to be a DJ in the same place. And they're just like, wow, all these DJs are here. Let me see your Instagram. And it's like all these fake DJ pictures. It was honestly,
dude, if you have to fake stuff that much, you're just a complete fucking faggot, like straight up. Yeah. Why don't you actually do the things that, you want to show? And then you attract the type of women that, like that kind of stuff too.
Let me pose this question because it's something that a lot of black girls try to shit on me for, but I don't really see why. Where do you guys stand on FaceApp? Personally, I think FaceApp is a good idea.
So I have so my policy with editing photos is look as good as you can provided that the girl doesn't get disappointed when she meets you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I think enhancing by 10%, 20% is not bad, but you don't want to enhance so much that when she meets, it's like a physical disappointment.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Basically, just like it's got to be like a little sprinkle. It's got to be like a little salt on the steak, not like a fucking powerhouse of.
Well, you can do like 20, 25%. You'll still be okay. But yeah,
if the girl is disappointed upon meeting, I think it backfires. That's kind of my policy.
You don't want to take it too far. But
so this principle with faking your height, anything like that, you want the girl to meet you and be like, oh, this is the guy, cool. Like you don't want her to go, wait, what? Like that's when it's like, because lying on the front end is just going to kill you in the back end if they meet you and you suck, right?
Yeah, there's degrees of it. So if you're 5'10" and you say you're 5'11" or 6 feet, like you're not going to get any shit. But if you're like 5'6" and you say you're 6 feet, that is going to backfire. So there's like degrees of lying.
Yeah. So I use FaceApp, but it's always like an impression, like level 2. Like it's always like I want it to be subtle enough where it's unclear if I even used it. You know what I mean? But I feel like, look, if you want to change the way you look, why don't you improve your looks. You know what I mean? Like guys are like, oh, let me brighten my teeth. It's like, how about you go to the dentist? You don't need FaceApp, bro. It's called the dentist. You know what I mean? like, you know,
But I think it can be like pretty useful. Like I've never had an issue that I can recall with a girl like that met off with FaceApp photos where they're like, ugh. Like I've never had that reaction.
Yeah,
I've had that when I did my deepfake experiment. So it does happen if you push it really fast.
Bradicus, you know, I hung out with Bradicus extensively, and he would use these photos that were years old, where he was probably half the size, and he was pretty shameless about it, but it was like really funny to like. He was like, "Let me see your Tinder," and he's like, he shows me this picture. I'm like, "Who is that?" It's like, "It's me. It's me." It might have been 2016, but it's me. I'm like, okay, you know. But I mean, he gets the results he wants, I guess. You know.
The answer to the question on screen is yes, by the way. I've been asking in the background. It's like, am I? But yes. I am the kind of guy she goes for before she met me.
Well, I have multiple types, but one of them is older, normal white guys.
Older, normal white guys. That's my bio on dating apps. I'm like, if you're looking to meet older, normal white guy,
I'm an older, normal white guy.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet initially?
Oh, that's awkward. A sushi orgy is the story we're going with.
Sushi orgy. How does a sushi orgy work?
It's a very, very unique story that is amazing. The long story short is the first time we met in person was at a sushi restaurant. And I'll be honest with you, you know, I always teach the key component for attraction is a chemical called oxytocin. If you guys want to learn more about that, by the way, you can go to my website, askthedatingcoach.com/gift. You can learn more about it. But oxytocin is the bonding chemical. So every so often you meet somebody and you just get on really well and you start laughing. So we sat laughing the entire meal. I mean, we barely ate. We barely communicated. We're laughing too hard. Everything we saw was funny. Everything was hysterical. And so at the end of the dinner, she sort of looks at me and goes, "So what do you want to do next?" And I think I was supposed to be like, "You want to go back to my room?" or something like that. But instead I said Top Golf. And so we went to Top Golf, where we spent the entire night not playing golf because I didn't have enough social status to get a table or a range because they were sold out. And so we sat watching other people play Top Golf. So I was basically the cuck of Top Golf, watching other people enjoy golf while I sat there watching them play with this wonderful woman. You ate donut holes. And I ate donut holes. Yep, I ate donut holes because I like eating donut holes to prove my manliness. And then I said, I'm going to Austen the next day. And so this will be it. And she said, I'm also going to Austen next day because I'm performing at South by Southwest because she's a DJ. An actual DJ, Austen, by the way, fun fact, not a fake DJ, which is why we laughed earlier because she's always backstage at Deadmau5, which is why this was hysterically funny a moment ago when David was talking about backstage at Deadmau5. Anyway, long story short, I said, I'm going to Austen. Why don't you get on a plane with me and come back with me? I'm having a sword fight with a ninja tomorrow. That's a true story. So she came back to my house to watch me have a sword fight with a ninja. I beat up the ninja and she said, wow, that was really cool. Do you want to come and watch me perform as DJ? I said, yes. I went to watch her perform as DJ and we've basically hung out.
We've spoken every day.
We've spoken every day since for hours a day. And I fly to her, she flies to me. And that's our life. Yeah.
Wait, so the question though is how did you initially meet? Like, did you meet on Instagram or how did you know each other before the sushi place?
The initial meet was a cold reach out from me to her.
On Instagram or cold approach or what?
As a DJ. Complete cold email, believe it or not.
Oh, email. Okay. Interesting. Okay.
But she's hot and awesome. So there we are.
Okay. Email game. There we go. All right, cool. David, you look awfully different right now. I don't know what changed about you. Just I can't put my finger on it. Just something. I don't know what it is. Okay, we're going on 3 hours, so I do want to kind of wrap up soon. Is there anything you guys want to discuss before we kind of lost two of our initial guests before we wrap up? It was a fun podcast, though. We covered a lot of different topics.
Dude, I think it was great. I think it bounced around. It was awesome. Austen, it was great to meet you, dude. Yeah, man. David, you two, you're awesome. If you guys if you're ever in Austin, you want to come on my podcast, I'd love to have you guys. We record on Thursdays. Alex, you have to come. It's like not an option. But yeah, I'd love to have you guys if you want to come down.
Well, I only come twice a week, so just we got.
That's fine. We'll time it. Just make sure your goals solves that. But yeah,
Yo, give us your number. We'll just put it on the screen here. Anyone has any comments, questions, they'll directly reach you on your number.
It's perfect. Or
No, I'm just
Instagram, which is great.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a message on Instagram or something.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, you guys are in the same group chat, so you guys have each other's number. But yeah, anyway, let's quickly just take a minute to shout out all your channels. So, Austin, you want to shout out your channel? I know you're dropping a product pretty soon. So.
Austin Summers on everything. So if you want podcast, YouTube, I don't know, whatever you want.
When is this legendary product that we've been hearing so much about dropping?
It's coming in August, okay? It's done. It's just I don't do marketing that well, so I'm going to get better at marketing. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Austin, ping me.
Okay.
That's what I do.
Okay, David, you want to plug your channel real quick?
Yeah, David Bond YouTube and Hello David Bond 007 on Instagram, and that should cover most of it. I gotta go, but yeah, it's been fun. I'll have to pop in these things more often.
Hell yeah, Adam.
Yeah, Adam. It's actually kind of nice to finally chat with you. Obviously, I've been watching you probably since 2012.
Nice.
I remember this video is like you on the street with some reporter like following you around, and you're like, "Watch this," and you're like, "Hey, yo."
That was the documentary. Yeah, that was the one with the. Dude, the funny. They literally said to me, "They're like, there's no fucking way you can do this," and I was like, "I'll prove it."
Yeah, man. Obviously, also the multiple girl thing is something I'm interested in. Let me follow you on IG.
Yeah, do it. Let's do the thing.
I'll be in Austin. I'll be on the. What's your ask the dating coach? Is that I'm assuming that's your yay. All right. Oh shit, looks like you blocked me. Wait, what the I'm kidding. Okay, cool. I got you right.
It's all the news. Yeah.
Yo. All right, cool, man. Thanks, guys. This has been fun. Spontaneous. I had to
Well, it wasn't spontaneous for us. It was spontaneous for you.
Let's give a quick shout out to our host here, Alex PBJ. Yo, dude, fucking awesome stream. Thanks for putting it all together, and you're awesome as well. And sorry for cutting you off constantly, dude. I'm like fucking hyped, dude. I popped Alpha Brain. I'm like,
I felt so disrespected. I'm gonna have to watch a bunch of Red Pill Rage for like 5 hours to get out of my system. Bro, no open panel, blue pill so hard. I mean, fuck, we're 3 hours in.
Nah, dude, we're done. Let's just end it. 3 hours is perfect.
We can do another one of these in like 2 weeks, and we'll do a whatever.
I'll finish with this. If any of you guys want to learn, one of my favorite things to teach is the 52 signs that a woman's interested in sleeping with you. This is from a psychological study from the 80s. They literally break down 52 signs. If you do not know 52 signs, if you only know 5, then that is literally going to be 47 missed opportunities with women. So make sure you know all 52. You can get them for free. Go to askthedatingcoach.com/gift.
And after you do that, go to my YouTube channel and watch me get my nose surgery because I literally vlogged the entire thing. Alex, you should check it out, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this. I'm never going to do a nose job. But yeah, anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I think we have some interesting content for this week. I know on Sunday I'm going to have Destiny debate that crazy Janelle chick, or I shouldn't say crazy, just as an alternative view of the world. So that should be fun. And I think also there's a lot of interesting videos I'm dropping this week. There's going to be one video that's going to involve Austen Summers. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. I'm gonna expose this motherfucker.
Alex, I'd love to say completely shameless plug, but Ali Cat, the DJ from Vegas, she's got a song that literally is dropping this week. So if there's a chance, if anyone wants to go to what is it, Ali Cat online?
Yeah.
On Instagram, you can go and check it out. She's a badass DJ. Like I said, she was badass enough that I thought it was worth doing a random reach out. So.
I also want to shout out this rack of lamb that I made. I'm going to eat this after the podcast because everyone kept complaining. Everyone kept complaining that I was eating steak every time we did these podcasts. So,
well, I'm glad you're being very, let's just say, you're introducing variability to your food choices. All right, guys, appreciate you all. Have a good night, everybody. Take it easy.
All right.
Also check out Alex Lindbergh and check out Avery Hayden. They have their own changes. Yeah. All right, guys. Peace.
Peace.